All right, well, welcome to this week's Talk or Ask Us Anything. In fact, this is a Williams Supercharger special. And that's for a very good reason, because one of our great members, actually one of our new members, Peter Bradshaw, came up with something that looks a little bit like this. And I know exactly where that is. That's just around the corner from the Williams woolshed. And the next image is this one. And we'll just go through the photos and then we can analyze after. That's another overview. And then we've got some conduits. This is a more recent photo, some conduits coming out of the ground with A, B, and C. That's another one there. A bit of lighting, which is nice. So it's good to have a light at night. And there's another overview of the site. And what we sort of, Ken and I and a few others of us were sort of getting all overexcited, as we rightly would. And we were trying to work out what was going on. And usually a V2 supercharger is basically in pairs. So there's a DC power supply for a pair of stalls. So Eaton has 3 pairs, so there are 6 superchargers. Now, normally a V3 supercharger setup, as we've known it in the past, has had 4 stalls to a single 1 megawatt unit, each with 250 kilowatts. But we've heard in the past, or recently, that in Norway, they've changed that to 3 lots of stalls doing 250 kilowatts, so only 750 total. So you can actually see here these 3 conduits and these bunch of conduits. So what this is, when you look a bit further on a site in Colac, this is the absolute spitting image of the Colac site, which is 3 stalls and this cabinet. And we've had close-up photos of the stalls and the cabinet. And in fact, you can see the stall only has 1 cable. So that is a CCS supercharger. So it's not the dual ports like at Eaton. So what we can basically conclude, and here's another one in Devonport in Tasmania, which is actually Tasmania's first supercharger, which is pretty awesome for them. And this also, you can't see the third one, but it's just behind this van here. So there you go. It's absolute definitive proof that at Williams is a 3-stall, 250 kilowatts each supercharger.
So all you old SNX owners had better get your old plug updated.
Well, the good news is that I've done mine. Ken's done his. Rob, have you done yours yet?
I'm getting mine done for free.
How are you getting it done for free?
Because Tesla sold us cars with free supercharging for life. And now, now they're putting in a supercharger and says, but you need to pay $480 for another cable to use it.
So I think I've got a solution there, Rob. Perhaps Tesla should just shoot you and go, there, you've got it for life. Boom.
I got mine done and paid the $480 or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well,
along with the MCU2 upgrade.
Oh yes. So whereas Ken and I paid $780 for our CCS2 upgrades, and we paid $3,000. What was it, Ken? $3,400.
4,000.
Oh, 4,000. Sorry. Yeah. How the money.
You've forgotten all that money. Just that's
right.
Ouch. Mind you, at least your cars are AP2, aren't they?
Yes.
So because I think mine was slightly cheaper because it's an AP1 car. I think it's $400 or $500 cheaper.
Right. Yes, and they also reduced the price soon after Ken and I got ours done, because they figured once the big spenders had done their purchase, they might as well lower the price because we've already subsidised it for everyone else. Speaking of everyone else,
Hey, Harold, I wouldn't be. I
go
was just
Pete.
going to say I wouldn't be complaining too much. You spend $4,000, at least you got something for it. I've spent $5,000 now is the total on my Lexus, and that's just for maintenance. I'm not actually getting anything new.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. That's always my line. You know, I've still spent far less, even with all of that, than I spent on owning my last Audi. And all it was fixing stuff, you know.
exactly.
Yeah, true.
So
Absolutely.
I'm winning.
Now's probably a good time just to quickly introduce some new members. I think, Ken, this is your first time here.
Yes, it is, and I'm sorry to be another Ken to get everyone confused. So sorry, Ken Taylor.
That's all right. We've got two Nigels. I'm just looking to see. That's about it. Oh, we've got a couple of Petes too. We've got two Peters.
We got two Peters.
Two Peters, two
Peters.
Nigels,
Don't
two
forget the-
Kens. Actually, we've got three
At least
Peters.
I'm following the trend.
We've got three Peters, so it's even worse. So yeah, it's all good.
Even worse.
Welcome. Now, anyone else? I'm not familiar with John's iPad. Or perhaps, what might be easier is anyone who's new, please just pipe up and say hello if you like to. Oh, Eric, I see you trying to say hello, but I think we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
This is Paul.
Paul.
Paul Viana.
Welcome, Paul. Oh, so that's the other Paul. You're Paul from Queensland.
No, Paul Model 3.
Oh, sorry.
like Spark Joy. That Paul. I've never actually come to one of these meetings before, but I thought I would tonight.
Awesome. Welcome.
I don't know how to get the camera to work, so on the
That's
iPad.
cool. You can work that out slowly.
I'll
It's
hang
all
up.
good.
I'll unmute myself, so then I'll mute myself, make it easier for someone else.
Yeah, no worries. And I think I was saying hello to, Eric. No, I've seen you before, Eric. So welcome back.
Yeah.
And Shane, I see lurking as well. So welcome back to you as well.
I might not always be able to stick around. I'm still running my restaurant at the moment, 7:30 at night, and there may be customers that I need to go and look after. So if I'm on and off, I apologise. And at the other times I probably won't be able to come into these meetings, but it's a little quieter tonight. So I thought I'd come and say hello to everyone. And yeah, we've got Silk Thai Restaurant on the foreshore in Mandurah, and that's why I'm wearing this lovely purple shirt. And there's a bar behind us.
Excellent. Well, good thing is you can actually watch this on YouTube. So if you just search Tokwa, TOCWA on YouTube, we've got the whole channel there. Last week, I think from memory, we went for a Ben-Hur session of 4 hours and 11 minutes. So I reckon that's more than enough for one of the Nigels to be totally catatonic by the end of that sort of session. But yeah, so you can certainly catch up later on. One of our members, Damon, and a shout out to him, he watches us in half-hour segments. So Damon, I guess that's 9 segments that you had to watch. So good luck with that. But thanks for doing it anyway. But yeah, so the format of this program is basically for people to ask anything at all. So it could be, how do I charge my car? What charging adapters do I need? So we regularly get similar questions, but that's cool because, we regularly get new owners, and that's what it's all about. And sometimes some of us crusty old owners, learn about new tricks from the very newest owners that tricks and tips that we never knew of. So, but yeah, so definitely, feel free to pop in and out, Ken, or anyone else. That's what it's all about. Or you're just free to lurk, and like Joe often does. And a shout out to Joe. Hope the kids are getting to sleep soon. And it's all good. And because we record on YouTube, it's you can watch this later on. Particularly if we say anything, pretty funny or whatever, which sometimes happens, and sometimes we say interesting stuff too. Mike, welcome. Mike, you're just off mic. I'm not sure.
Hello. Yes, sorry, having a bit of computing problems today. It's taken me about 15 minutes to get my computer started. Yeah.
Well, that sometimes feels like my card on some days, but sorry, that's a bit of an in-joke for us old Model X and S owners.
Right.
Every now and then when there's a software update, we get some undocumented features. And at the moment, we're going through an undocumented feature that makes our streaming not work when we first start the car in the morning.
Oh,
We got all excited yesterday because there was a software update, but unfortunately it didn't fix it, but it's okay.
Yeah, you just need a new elastic band.
Yes, I might have to resort to bringing a wireless into my car. Oh, well, it's all good.
when are they gonna upgrade the software so that it can do updates through the 4G connection instead of having to be connected to wireless?
Oh, no, they can. In fact, they do. If there's a critical patch for a safety issue, they can and do push updates through the wireless.
So they're just being cheap.
Yes, yeah, because it costs some money. Yes, exactly. So I've had an update pushed to my car several times, and in fact, twice while I was driving the car, an update was being pushed through the mobile network. So it certainly can be done, and is done, but not all the time, because nearly everyone has got a Wi-Fi connection. Oh, and in fact, for all new owners, or all owners, in fact, if you're driving around and you see a little amber looking, it's a down arrow with a flat line underneath it, and it's a yellow or amber color, that means that the car wants to do a download. There's one available, but it's waiting until you connect your car to Wi-Fi. So then if you see that and you haven't got your car connected to your home Wi-Fi, just obviously, connect it, or you can tether off your mobile, and then the car will then proceed to download that update. Something else that can...
Or you can press it in.
Sorry, Pete?
Or you can press on that icon and for another time later on. So it does it automatically.
To download, you mean? Or do you mean the...
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You mean install or to download?
Yeah, good question. I can't recall now, but I know you can definitely schedule a later time.
Yeah, that's actually install the update. So once your update has installed, or sorry, downloaded, you'll then see what looks like an old-fashioned alarm clock, and that tells you that there's an update that's ready to install. And then when you click on that, it'll have a default time. It can do it at night time or in a couple of hours, which I think is a default subsequent time. And the trick is if you say install now, it'll come up with I think it's a 2-minute timer, which starts decrementing. And if you're too impatient and you just want to start it right now, just tap on that 2 minutes incessantly. It's about, I don't know, 5 or 6 taps. And that timer will then run down to about 2 seconds and then start run down to 0, obviously, and then start. But when you see that download icon, like I said before, if it's orange or yellow, connect your car to Wi-Fi. It'll then turn green. And if you hit your, is it software? I'm not sure the last menu item. Something like
software.
Software. You'll actually see a progress bar of it downloading. Now, something else that the car relies on Wi-Fi for, and I think Tesla doesn't do the update any other way, is your maps that are stored by the car. So currently, all the Australian cars, their latest map update is 2020.24. So it's the 24th week of last year, so roughly halfway through the year. And I guess traditionally it's been an annual sort of update. But for that, because it's quite a large file, you do need to have your car connected to Wi-Fi. But I think that map is mainly for offline mapping. So if there's no mobile network, it can do its own automatic routing for navigation. But generally, it actually uses Google's up-to-date navigation. So you'll notice that there might be some roads or intersections that have changed since the middle of last year, but the car still knows that. It's just that if you were offline, it wouldn't. So that's another little tip there. There's a little bit of news. I sort of picked out just one item, which was quite topical, especially here, and that is the new front casting for the Model Y. So this photo was actually taken at the Gigafactory in Texas. And what's really cool about this is that if you have a look at this image, which was in Tesla's Battery Day event, it's absolutely the same thing, to the point where you've got these ridges, you've got this recess, you've got all of this sort of reinforcing bits, and it's exactly the same. So that's really cool. So for those that haven't seen it, this was the Battery Day, well, part of the Battery Day presentation, whereby Tesla basically said that they're going to do a structural battery pack. And this is also another piece of news that was confirmed, I think it was yesterday, by Elon Musk on Twitter, that the new Model Y is coming out of Giga Texas, and Berlin, but Texas is the new news, will be the 4680s in the structural battery pack. So that's, this back part's the rear casting, which is in Model Ys now, out of the States, and possibly coming out of Shanghai. Sorry, well, yeah, actually they were in Shanghai already. And then of course this front casting is what's actually been just produced at the Gigafactory Texas now. And in fact, a shout out to Jeff Roberts. This is one of his close-up drone shots showing a multitude of castings. So that's pretty good, you know, considering that the sides of that factory aren't even closed in yet, and then not a lot of it's watertight. But as we speak, they are producing front castings for the Model Y. Which gets us to the other point of, hey, Ken, did you have a look today? I know you did.
At least twice, and once just before I joined the thing tonight. But
right, so there is, so we can confirm as of a few minutes ago, the Model Y is still not available to order here yet.
That's right. If I go, Harold, it's because I've gone to order one. But but see, now the big question is with Elon's response for the 4680 batteries in the Y, you know, there's all sorts of conjecture now, which is almost always going to be nonsense about what that means. But yeah, look, I'm really excited about that. I mean, because obviously, as we know, for example, with the Model X new ramp, the long range and the Plaid are probably still going to be either 16
650s,
2170s.
Yep.
And the 4680s are going to be for the Plaid Plus, which is probably why it's later.
Yep.
So does that mean there's a Plaid Y, or does it mean the 4680 is going to go into every Y, or, you know, all sorts of interesting thoughts about what might happen with that. I would assume that what Texas is working on is a different model, but I don't know.
I think there's zero doubt now, seeing this basically the structural battery pack as it was announced at Battery Day, and seeing that casting, that is absolutely the front part of that. And if you've done that, well, you're going to go structural. And if you're going to go structural, well, he's already said it's 4680s. Yeah, it makes sense, because I don't think.
Yeah, what Elon confirmed is that the Texas factory won't produce 2170 Ys.
That's right, because that's a casting from the Gigafactory in Texas. That's they've already stacked them up. They're already doing test runs. Yeah, yep, absolutely. But I guess to your point, what it doesn't say is if the Model Ys coming out of Fremont are going to be 4680s, and they're probably not at this stage. And the Shanghai ones.
I think there's room, much as there is with the Model 3, for there to be different models with different chemistries for different reasons. You know, there's a very good reason for the SR Plus to have LFP batteries, and there's obviously an equally good reason for the Performance to not have LFP batteries. And I think there's certainly room within the suite of Y models to be the same. The question really that's unanswered is how soon anything with the 4680 is going to come to market, and whether that means it's going to Osborne all of our orders. And the answer is no. I'm going to order one as soon as I can order one. But
yes,
yeah.
Well, and I guess in matter of fact, to us, it doesn't matter so much how the structure is built. It matters to Tesla because it's so much more economically, well, it's cheaper to do the casting, so many fewer parts. Your production line is simpler. The scope for errors is a lot less. But really, a Model Y that's the current version compared to the new version on spec is probably going to be almost the same, no doubt.
Yeah.
So we won't care. You know, we just want our Y because we do.
I actually, Harold, I kind of I wondered whether, you know, there was a bit of nonsense in China about the you know, Model Y brakes not being up to scratch, which is obviously a load of nonsense. But I thought, well, does that hopefully mean that a few Chinese orders won't happen, and then they'll start ramping up the right-hand drive Model Ys quicker? It was an outside hope, but
yeah,
that's not happening.
I really wish. The problem is, I think the Y is going gangbusters in China at the moment.
for good reason.
It really is.
They're selling more than they can make, so we're further down the queue, I'm sorry to say.
Yep, unfortunately.
But what could be interesting is if the Model 3 from Shanghai is getting the same rear, well, not the same casting, but a similar rear casting as the Model Y that's currently being built in China, because the Model 3 is coming out now, which is another bit of big news, which is, you know, we're getting hundreds of cars this quarter coming to Perth, as opposed to the nearly 200 from last quarter. But it's actually lost a bit of weight. So it could be interesting to have a look when those first cars come in to see if you look in the rear arch. In fact, if you want to look at your own Model 3s, you'll notice that if you look in the rear arch, you'll see like a bit of adhesive and there's a bit of like bonded metal panels inside. What will be interesting to see is for the casting version, you'll clearly see it won't be like that. So that's something I'm really looking forward to in the next couple of weeks, to see the new batch of 3s being delivered to hundreds of owners, which is pretty exciting. Some of which I think are probably here today.
Well, welcome, sir.
So who hasn't got their car yet? I think, Ken, you're waiting for a car, and
yeah, I'm waiting as well.
And
They're
Shane?
staying the 11th, I think.
So who was that?
Shane.
It's Shane.
Oh, sorry, Shane. Yes, Shane. Yes, absolutely. 11th. Oh,
Yeah, they're saying between the 2nd and the 11th, and I checked about an hour before this as well. So, and the hour before that, and the hour before that.
My one says the 5th to the 12th of June.
5th to the 12th.
Sorry.
My one's saying the 5th to the 12th of June online at the moment.
Well, that's quite similar. That's
Maybe
Yeah.
yeah. Paul, have you got the car on order? Or you've already got one?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
I'm Spark Joy. I've had mine since 2019.
Yeah, sorry,
I got the camera working. Woo!
Yeah.
But I have had a fellow use my owner's code, and he said he was told maybe June as well. So that's saying something.
Oh, well, you can bet your bottom dollar that there'll be no deliveries in July. It's all going to come out in June, one way or another. Whether that's early June or late June, they all have to be delivered by the end of June.
End of the quarter, yeah.
We know Paul's got his car because I've seen it.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah. That was an awesome thing to do, yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like Paul was a bit hot on the throttle there.
I know. I was like, hey, gravel, and for once I can actually slip drive it. So, yeah, that was good. Model 3 always. Yeah. And the track days are always fun as well. So, yeah.
I heard from 2 people that have cars on order that they have both of them been told the end of May.
Oh, wow.
Mine originally said end of May, but then it just, I don't know, maybe a week ago it bumped out to the 2nd. But yeah, Tesla rang me the other day to talk about registration papers and things like that. And yeah, they said that, well, they sort of implied there were 2 batches, and they said mine was in the first batch and there was another batch coming very soon after that.
Oh, cool.
Excellent. Excellent. Yes, because there are 2 ships believed to have come from Shanghai going to the East Coast. So it's going to be bigger than Ben-Hur. I think, you know, it's a clear demonstration that you know, Tesla building 800,000 or 900,000 cars this year compared to the 500,000 last year.
Oh, easy.
Is a pretty sure bet, you know.
Yeah.
If we can go to, say, 200 cars delivered last quarter to probably, I don't know, 300, 350, that's really saying something. And none of that's with Model Y. So as soon as Model Y comes out,
yeah, my friends are waiting for a Y, so yeah.
Yeah, well, we're, you know, there's Ken and I, you know, there's quite a few of us around it. Well, you know, Pete, you know, we're all just screaming for a Model Y. And the sad thing is, with the Model X's being so delayed, you know, at this stage, not coming to Australia until the end of 2022, you know, there might be more Ys being bought as interim cars or whatever before the real car that counts, which is the Cybertruck.
Hey, Harold, do you think they'll come on ship, truck, or train from Port Kembla?
Ship.
Are we thinking ship this time?
I think they've learnt that ships are the best way to go.
Yeah, especially when they've got more volume, like now.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt it's going to be shipped. The biggest problem, of course, is they need to find some more temporary premises to store these things on.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of them. But you know, perhaps hopefully they'll find, you know, one place, like one plot of land or whatever, hard stand, where they may actually do deliveries from that one location. Because, you know, Osborne Park now is flat out doing test rides. So I'm sure most of the people who have ordered the cars recently have you know, done so on the strength of test rides, which you couldn't get, you know, 6 months
They're welcome to park a whole heap out there. That's my backyard. They're welcome to park them there.
I was just about to say, I've got a 3-car garage and 1 car. So I can take 2, you know, performance or 2 just to park in my garage to look after.
Well,
Shane just needs to stick some chargers on that paddock.
Well, we could all be foster deliverers. Like, we could just foster a couple of cars.
Funny you should say that, Pete. That's well and truly on the cards.
Hey,
I've got an electrician coming day after tomorrow. The bloke down the road, Zeus Sparky, he's coming to stick a 3-phase power point on the front of the house as a public point.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Good
nice
on you.
one.
Cool. Good job. Good on you.
Good on you, Shane.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Did I put it on plug share? You gonna put it on plug share, Shane?
Yeah, most certainly. Yeah, I've been doing a few other investigations in mathematics as well. So I might be able to make it a solar powered charge point. So
Good on you.
even better.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Sorry, Richard, you were saying something.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, Harold. I seem to have a feeling that and I can't remember whether you'd be able to confirm or deny this, that the new refreshed Model S and X are not going to have 100 kilowatt hour packs anymore, are going to be more like 90 kilowatt hours.
Yes.
Am I misremembering that?
No. That's, that conclusion was made a while ago on the strength of the range figures. Yeah, it made a lot of sense, because the only way the range could stay the same with the other specs was for the actual battery pack to become smaller. And it seems they're doing that.
Does that affect your decision to order an X? A Plaid X now, as opposed to a Plaid?
No, because my X at 90% charge comes up to 314 Ks.
Yeah, okay.
and a Model X. If we ask Peter Ship, what does your X say when you're at 90%?
520, I think. Currently,
Wow.
Watertown at the moment on South Australia, Victoria, not in the car, but normally I've got it set at 80%. There's 419, I think, at 80% at the moment.
But then what's it going to be on if it's a smaller pack?
No, it'll be very similar. I think the actual range is virtually the same. It's virtually the same.
Peter's got his set to rated range though, Harold. You've got your set to typical range.
Yeah, but Peter's got about 20 kilowatt hours more than I have. In fact, he's got about 25 kilowatt hours more. So.
Oh yeah, no, he has, but he's got a different setting.
Yes. He's got about 116 Ks more than me on any day, which I know that it doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes a big difference.
Makes a massive difference, that extra bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same as a petrol car. If you've got another 10, 20 litres, it makes an incredible difference.
Yes. Yeah. So to answer to your question, Richard, no, that's not going to affect my decision to buy a Model X. But what affects it is the fact that let's say we get a Model Y by the end of this year, landed into Australia, which is entirely plausible. And we don't get the Model X until at the very earliest late next year, if not dribbling into 2023, then it might make more sense. And given that hopefully there'll be a Cybertruck landing in Australia the end of 2023.
23.
Dribbling into 2023.
No bet. I wish, but no bet.
It might make more sense to get the model, get two Ys to swap out the S and the X, and then wait for the Cybertruck.
Like if it was me, I'd probably want like the last of the now old Model X off the line, just knowing that it's got a much bigger battery pack and they can carry on working on software updates to get a bit more efficiency out of it and therefore a bit more range. But
yeah, I sort of that is sort of is a minor factor, but I think the thing that really clinches it for the new Model X is this thing right here. Oops, sorry. It's great having a bit of dead air. It's this, you know, it's a horizontal screen.
Oh, I mean, it's a vastly improved car for sure. But
it is, because in fact, the exterior is the same. The exterior is completely unchanged to the point where at the moment they still show that the charge port door is just the little one that's not compatible with CCS, whereby you need to have the physical adapter. But that's what gets you is the horizontal screen, because all movies look better in
True. Yep.
In landscape.
Yep. Watched a movie in the Model Y, Model 3.
I don't think it is.
So say again.
I don't think America is changing to CCS.
No. But for instance, the Model 3 in the States came out with the larger, well, you've all seen it, the larger fuel door, because they changed the arrangements of the rear light cluster. So even though in the States they have quite a small inlet port, their fuel door or flap is a lot bigger. And the reason for that is that it accommodates the CCS port in Europe and Australia. And in China, China actually has two ports on their cars. They have the GDMT and something else. So they have a separate AC port and a separate DC port. So that's quite a large arrangement. So you need the big flap. But what was disappointing with the refresh, when the refresh S and X were revealed, and on the website, you can clearly, and even their example cars that were being tested, they haven't revised the rear light cluster and they haven't revised the charge port flap. Now in China, they actually do something different. They actually cut out a fuel door like a traditional petrol one flap, which opens, the actual side of the body opens up. But they haven't done that in Australia or in Europe for the S's and X's, the old ones. And it looks like at the moment, unless something different happens, and it's possible, we're still going to persist with this silly arrangement of having this physical adapter for charging. But, you know, I guess, well, yeah, I don't know why Tesla did that. I guess it's a cheaper solution. They've done an interior refresh and they haven't really touched the exterior. And obviously for the Plaid Plus Model S, they've also completely changed the battery pack.
And there's a wing now.
Oh, yes.
There's a re-spoiler.
Yes,
As
at
of
Laguna.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, yep. And I believe that set a slightly faster time. It was about equivalent. It was 1 minute 30, I think.
It was 129, I think.
129.
It was 129 and change with the wing up. Yeah.
Crazy.
Which is, yeah, it is super crazy. Oh, speaking of crazy things, did you see Lamborghini have announced an $18 billion program? And I think the first part of that program was they're going to bring out effectively a last hurrah pure ice version of their car as a homage to all the other dinosaur sipping cars. And then they're going to go to hybrid versions. And then I think about halfway through this decade, they're going to finally bring out what they ought to do right now, which is a full EV version, which, you know, will outperform everything else they've ever made.
They're giving Tesla a home run at the moment. They'll have the Roadster out before then.
Yeah, and as there was a great YouTube video, something about engineering. That guy talks about engineering. I think he's a Canadian. I'm not sure. He's got a bit of a whiny voice, and he talks about questioning whether the Plaid Plus Model S can do sub 1.9 seconds to 60 miles an hour.
Funny enough, I watched that yesterday, Harold. It's a brilliant video, really interesting, and made some very good points.
Yeah, one of the points is what people at drag strips usually measure is with what they call a 1 foot rollout, which is when you gun it, you wait for the wheels to have moved 1 foot. Now, the point about that is it actually saves at least 1/4 of a second off your time, which when your time is only 2 seconds makes a huge difference, because it's that first rolling bit that's quite hard to do. And the other point he made was the best way to try and work out the theoretical zero or acceleration of a car, or a good analog for it, is to do the braking test. And when you do the brake distance test, it basically pegs a Plaid Plus S as having a 0 to 100 or 0 to 60 miles an hour of about 2 seconds, because the brake performance test is about the same. Although he did explain that, you know, it's slightly different because front tires are usually skinnier than rear tires, so there might be a little bit less friction, but, you know, it's very, very close.
It's the channel's called Engineering Explained. And it says, it's called No, Tesla Can't Hit 60 miles an hour in under 2 seconds. You probably can't see that.
We saw a little bit.
But yes, is this a matter of my dick's bigger than yours? I mean, between 2 seconds and 2.1 seconds,
I'm huge.
Are you actually going to notice it?
Well,
no.
Oh, there should. He makes a good point though. There should be a little asterisk saying, you know, under the Motor Trend test conditions.
Nigel, Lamborghini notice it. That's all that matters.
What? When they're looking at the rear end of the Tesla?
Making cars that go this fast is all about slapping down the ICE cars. That's it. And Lamborghini are dead. They will not be making electric cars because they've got enough Lamborghinis on the road to cover people's needs. There's no market for them. Second-hand Lamborghinis will cover the market.
Yes, but they have to. But if they want to continue to persist making cars, they've got no choice. Because well, a performance Model 3 can beat what many other cars that are 3 times its price.
Allegedly, yes.
So how,
Lamborghini's never been about performance. It's all been a bit of a joke, you know, right down to the names, like the Countach and the you know, that's that, you know, but also, Rob, Lamborghini's now part of the Volkswagen Audi group effectively. So there'll be a bit of crossover between Porsche and Volkswagen electric platforms that I'm sure will be easy enough to slot in underneath the Lamborghini body.
Good point.
Guys, just want to break in. 2 things today. One is, you know how our Teslas are so wonderfully quiet in the shopping centres? Reminded me of the days when we had bicycles, which also are silent, and to make noises, we'd peg a playing card so they could rub on the spokes. Now I'm trying to figure out where I should put that card on the Tesla so they can make that motorbike sound. Because I'm scaring a lot of little old ladies there in the shopping carts. Yeah, just Stephen, for what it's worth. You remember that I said,
hang on, wait, just on that point, Stephen, just sorry to interrupt. On that point, do you have a SR Plus?
No, SR Plus 3 regular.
Yeah. Aero wheels.
Yeah.
You got the Aero. So what you do is you take the Aero covers off, right? Get a bit of blue tack, get a stick on your rear, what's the name? Thingy. And or on your brake caliper or brake thing. And you can do it. Get a card, and you can just do it on the Aero wheels.
Oh, how very nice! Well, I took my Aero wheels off, as I explained. I couldn't use the air pump successfully, so I put those Tesla nut covers, etc., on it, and did some research. You know how when you put the emblem, Tesla emblem, on your wheel, they're bloody hard to get off. You damage them if you use a screwdriver, and everyone recommends using a dent puller. A dent puller. It's a suction cup. They're dirt cheap on the internet, but the freight into Australia is, you know, for a $3 item, you're paying $20 for freight. Well, I got to tell you that Super Cheap Auto had them for $9. I've got the docket, $9, and it's just called a single cup, suction cup dent puller, and it works a treat. So there you go.
Awesome. Cool. Great tip.
Yeah. Well, the things that occupy your brain when you're retired, you've got to look around for things to occupy your brain, don't you?
Exactly. How much did it cost, Stephen?
$9.
$9. That would be this one.
That's the one.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
$8.99.
I tried it out today. It works perfectly. So highly recommend it.
That's a good scoop. We should do a video of that. That's a good scoop.
Yeah.
Nice one.
It's a pleasure. I'm here to serve.
And serve you have.
Stephen, do you have an external speaker on your Model 3? In fact, actually, that is a question I have. Are external speakers in Australia allowed to emit noise?
There are no external speakers in Australian models at all.
There's the recess for them. There's everything there except the actual speaker, I think.
Aren't they retrofitting them in America?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So I guess the question that one of you Model 3 owners should ask Tesla is, can they retrofit?
Somebody has already done that in Australia, and I'm being told, no, not yet.
The problem is
that would solve your problem. So you just be able to select on the
boombox
on the touch screen, whichever sound you wanted to emit when you're in the car parks going slowly. It'd be nice if I could do that on mine, but it's too old.
Yeah, so at the moment I'm dropping the windows down and playing AC/DC really loud. Highway to hell.
Sorry to cut across you there, Pete.
Excellent. Excellent, excellent. Well, that's, yeah, well, you know, 4 windows down, great sound system.
Yeah.
Cool. Yes, that's a bit disappointing that they're not doing the speakers yet.
I've already asked. I asked them at Osborne Park, but they don't know.
Yeah, because
Yes.
it's the Model 3s after July 5th build, 2019. They're the ones that can have it.
Yes, because of wiring.
Yeah, the next build after mine.
Oh, I got mine early, but mine was it does have it. So not the
Mine was a
speaker, but the
July
wiring.
build.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I guess one good thing is at the moment we don't, notwithstanding Stephen, that the cars are really quiet.
Yeah.
Unless it's a hot summer's day and then they can hear your aircon.
Yeah.
It still is, well, I guess it's up to opinion, but in my opinion, it's a great thing we don't have to have those sound makers, because some of them can sound a bit, a bit weird, a bit naff.
Oh, some of them be pretty good. Eh? What about the 2 halves of coconuts clapping together?
No, they need some cowbells.
That is absolutely what I would have.
Yeah.
I want the Imperial March. So
yeah. Speaking of marching, Peter, you're marching across the continent. Obviously, not in. I think you're in a Sprinter.
Yeah. Well, this one didn't sell. We were going to sell it, but yeah, we're at border town on the border between South Australia and Victoria. It's a bit later here than what you guys are at.
Yes, it sure is.
A bit colder too.
Well, you're on a funny time zone too. You're in this in-between time zone.
Yeah, it's a 1.5 hours from WA, a half hour from New South Wales.
No. At the actual border village, they don't run. That's South Australian time, but they actually have their own time zone. I think that's.
No, you got it's not border village. It's border town. It's Victoria, South Australia.
Oh, sorry. Apologies.
Yeah,
sorry.
You're wrong one.
Yeah, you're much further east than I thought. Right.
Yes.
Rightio.
So I came just past Keith. It's just the town before here.
Yes.
And there's a few good charges there I noticed coming through. I didn't actually stop because I was past them before I realised it. But I've been keen to see charges wherever I can coming across.
Yeah, Keith's got the Supercharger. It's got a 4-stall Supercharger. And what's really good about that one is that 3 of them are perpendicular park, and one is a parallel park that's good for a trailer.
Which is sometimes very handy. It depends on what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on the way down to Albany, there's one at Mount Parker, a 3-phase. That's locked up. I did put a note on PlugShare that I think someone else had anyway, but you can't really use that one.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool.
Good to note what you can. I came through Williams and I couldn't find that new one. I was past it before I saw the photo online, but I did look in Williams, but didn't know where to look.
Yeah, it's actually the side street just before it. So as you're going south towards Albany, it's the street just before the woolshed. So it's on that corner.
I did go down there, but I didn't see what it was. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty subtle. There's a power cabinet. We'll just bring that back up. Okay. There's a on the actual street side. So obviously that up at the back here, that's Albany Highway.
Okay.
So this is the side part. So the woolshed's all this part here.
Yeah.
And there's a side street there, and
Well, I actually drove down through there, but I didn't spot it.
There's at the back of it. There's like this cabinet. I don't think it's a transformer. I think it's just a big junction box.
Yeah.
And that's where the power's going. And then basically you swing around to this sort of side part. Actually, one thing that might, as exciting as it is to see these works happening, I guess one thing to take note is we don't know if they're going to put bitumen, if you're going to bitumize this area, or maybe they might just put patchy concrete, whatever you call those slabs where the grass can sort of grow in between it. or gravel perhaps. Maybe they could just put
What's that?
some kind of gravel.
Well, I just looked
This
up
is the
one-
meeting. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Just there's one south of Berry in New South Wales, which is near Nowra, and that's just on grass. They've got a concrete strip along the back with the chargers on them, but the actual parking areas are all just grass, which surprised me.
Yes, yes. Is that near? There's a restaurant or something there. There's a
Yeah, I can't remember the actual name. Anyway, it's a bit south of Berry, but not as far as Bomaderry.
Yes, yeah, indeed. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Obviously, it must be strange to look past the superchargers in an ice car because you don't actually get the pleasure of using them.
It's frustrating in a way, yes.
I guess them's the brakes.
Well, I guess you've really got to get Port Augusta before you can really, before there's anything around. There's Clare, there's Keith, there's all these ones, but before that, there's not a lot.
Nothing.
Yeah,
Can I
true.
ask a question on Williams? I might have missed it. I came on a few minutes later, couldn't get in. Did we talk about Williams? Does anyone know when we're going to be online down there?
No. Look, they're building it now, but you know, it could be still a couple of months away, potentially. Well, yeah.
It's down as Q3, isn't it?
Yes,
On
Q3.
Yeah, so by September, maybe, James?
Well, end of September is the end of Q3, so that's the latest date. Notwithstanding that Tesla had promised a supercharger in Perth in 2017 and
16, wasn't it?
No, it was 17.
17.
2017 and 18 and 19 and 20. So you'd have to give them for 1 or 2 months.
3 months, maybe 6 months, definitely.
I was going to say, there's a lot of threes coming in. That might be a good case for Tesla to put a few in because 100%. We've got about 1 or 2.
Well, the good thing is they've actually committed to, well, there's the what they now call Perth North Supercharger. So that's in the northern suburbs of Perth.
Yeah.
And that's in Q3 this year. But then they've also added, well, a renamed or reborn Perth Supercharger, which is to be delivered in Q1 next year. So that's presumably either central Perth. Well, it must be central Perth, basically. Perhaps Burswood, perhaps something around sort of close to the centre of Perth. Whereas the north one is clearly north. But how far north, we don't know.
We hope that Pindon isn't the contract.
Yes, that goes without saying. Let's definitely hope that is not the case. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Pindan is a very newsworthy sort of subject, but there was something else that was actually in the news a little while ago, which was a little snippet in the paper. It was actually a whole page.
Yeah.
On page 4 of the West Wheels magazine. Was this Saturday newspaper, Pete?
Yeah, Saturday in the motoring, page 4 of the motoring section.
Who is that spunky-looking fellow down there in the corner?
Yeah. Pete's pretty pleased with himself with the personal number plates, which I believe are getting more popular than ever. We heard in the news today. And we've even got Elon. I mean, look at that. Pete, Elon, they're best buddies, just inches apart. And we've also got a good photo that I think was actually taken by Power Play. No, it wasn't me. No, I think it was one of the ladies at Power Play that took that photo.
Actually, no, I think wasn't that you? No, wasn't that Robin that took that?
Or maybe.
No, Harold's correct. The lady from Power Play took the photo.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Looks good.
And then we got a part photo of the Osborne Park showroom.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good. So, and we even in this little section here, we even have something called Ask Us Anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to the West Australian and Pete for getting us in the news.
And the online version's got a photo of Jürgen and Helen and the green theme, and it's taken from above, so you can see the big
yes,
Cockwater logo.
I've got to grab that.
Yep.
That's. I think you texted that to me, didn't you, Pete?
I did, yeah. I'm just trying to find it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I'll just stick that where I can see it. You just talk amongst yourselves for a sec. Discuss the weather or something.
Yeah, well, I've got I got something I want to ask. Rob, have you been going around sticking plug share stickers on the Chargers at Baldivis, Rockingham, and so on?
No, that must have been Brad Platel.
That must have been who?
Why would you say that?
I don't know, but I mean there has been a spate of M3s charging there, and no sign of anything on plug share. And
naughty.
One new guy. He's got a brand new M3, and I think it's an SR Plus. That old guy that you saw, he plugs his into Stockland. It's not charging because he doesn't know how to twist the cable. So he plugged it in and walks away. I got there a few days ago, not on plug share and not charging. And when he moved, I went and tested it, and it wouldn't charge until you twist the cable. But he doesn't read on plug share anything, so he wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Nigel, there was someone at plug shared Baldivis yesterday, and they charged for 3.5 hours.
Wasn't me.
Yeah, I know who it was, and that sort of behaviour's got to stop. It's ridiculous.
I was actually in the shopping centre for almost an hour and a half this morning, but I was on plug share for 1.5 hours. I had some business in there and so on.
Yeah, this was someone was there before you yesterday.
And he wasn't on plug share.
No, he plug shared it for 3.5 hours.
Bloody hell. That's rude. That's a full charge.
That's like there's a certain Model S that goes to Garden City. It's a grey coloured Model S that parks there almost all day, every day, day in, day out. And of course, unfortunately, I think what some people do is they dial down their charging speed, so it sort of trickles in. And also there's someone at the alternative UWA site, which is the the single phase type 2 charger at the computer science building. And there's a there's a FEV plug-in hybrid that has been there a couple of times, obviously fully charged because they haven't got big batteries, and just parked all day for hours.
Shane just put a question into chat about getting your garage door to open. Yes, Shane? I've got HomeLink installed on mine. And so as I drive up my driveway, the door automatically opens for me. And when I reverse out, it automatically closes. It's called HomeLink. I don't know if it's still available.
You have to buy a separate module for your garage door, Nigel, as well?
No, I didn't, because mine just happened to be the one that works with it. And I'd only had it fixed a few months before. The old unit had carked it, and the guy put in a new unit. And then I get my Model 3 and I go, oh, HomeLink, let me have a look. Oh, guess what? It works fine with the one I've got.
Yeah, I had to buy a
Chamberlain.
unit, but yeah, it costs about $80 or something, and you can wire it in yourself. It's fairly straightforward.
Yeah, it's fairly straightforward.
Most of the Chamberlain door openers will work fine as long as it's in, 433 megahertz. If the remote control is writing up 433 megahertz and is talking the same protocol as Chamberlain, most of the ones in the WA do, apparently. Most of them.
Yes,
yeah, I think that the HomeLink you get installed into the car, and the car actually does it by itself. You don't have to do anything. It's actually programmed in, and you've got a picture of a house at the top left of the screen. And that just sends a little pop down as you approach, opening garage door in 6 meters, 3 meters, opening, and it's got a little thing, and the garage door starts going up. And same when I reverse out, it says activating garage door in 6 meters, 3 meters, 0 meters, and activates it.
Okay.
Is the
car side of that? Sorry.
You go on.
I was going to say, is the car side of that, does that come as something installed in the car, or is that something I've got to ask Tesla to install for me?
I had to get Tesla to install it.
Okay.
How much, Nigel?
Yes.
It's about $400.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's about 400, 450, something like that.
You can buy them off eBay secondhand for $50.
Yeah, and then you've got to install it and program the computer to do it.
Yeah, apparently Tesla will program it for you. I don't know how much they charge you, but
$400 probably.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I've got a slightly different situation, and I've chosen not to have home link or to have a remote control because I have a bike on the roof from time to time, and there's no way I want to be driving into my garage with the door automatically opening and not remembering the bike is on there. I have my garage remote stuck with double-sided tape to the back of the screen, so it's just at the bottom in the middle, so I can just feel it, and it's dead easy to get. It's just another button to push as I rock up. It works perfectly for me, and it costs me the price of the sticky tape.
Yeah, I'm too lazy to push a button.
Yeah, that's very similar to what we do as well.
You gave up pushing buttons, Nigel, when you retired.
Yes. I just push people's buttons now.
Well, yes, that is a talent.
Yes.
Just getting back to this photo that Pete was mentioning, there it is there. So that's the online version of the same article. And that shows our pretty cool logo on the roof of the Tokiva racing car, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's brilliant.
Next year it'll be on the bonnet, just quietly, but anyway.
And just quietly keep an eye out for the West. Maybe not this week, but maybe next week in the My Wheels section. Jürgen and Helen might be in there. With the profile on. So the My Wheels section is usually profile about the owner and their car. So
yeah, cool.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
That's usually on page 3, I think.
Just for the guys that don't know much about that car, firstly, the driver and co-driver, Helen and Jürgen, they are very, very good, very professional team. Just well suited to an electric car, the way they go about it. Secondly, in the Targa category, they're the third fastest car out of 90 cars, but they are actually leading Targa because of their consistency. So they're the top car out of 90 cars. So 89 petrol cars. They're the electric car on top. That's how well that car's doing and how good that team is.
And you should mention, Rob, that a lot of the other cars are heavily, heavily modified, whereas the only modifications that have been done to the green theme is the suspension, the high temperature brake fluid, brake calipers, and obviously what you have to have is the roll cage and the bucket seats and the 4-point harness. So it's basically a factory car.
Yeah, because the actual the motors are completely stock, absolutely stock.
And the battery and everything else, it's really just the suspension and brake pads really.
And the fat wheels.
Oh yes, and they've got slightly softer rubber. And I don't think are they wider than the stock wheels? I don't think they are.
They're 18-inch rims, so they've got a lot more rubber on them.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Well, I've got 18-inch wheels.
When did you get them?
You get them with the car.
No, Peter, you got performance a 20-inch.
Yeah,
mine's a performance.
I've got the Performance
Me too.
Miners.
Yep.
And the Performance Miners had the same wheels as the long range and the standard range.
Oh,
Me too.
I didn't know that. Anyway, can I digress back to the noise making machine? Did you say the 3 has got the facility for putting a speaker in, but it's not fitted?
Yep. It's got the wiring harness and everything, but the Tesla service guys actually have to do like a firmware update for it to actually allow it. You can't just put a speaker in. It's if you're looking at the front of the car, it'll be looking dead on. It's under the left, and it's a speaker. You can see like holes like a speaker. I had a look already. Yeah.
What's in that plastic pan, is it?
Yep. Towards the front, towards your wheel. Yeah.
And Paul, did you say that's for any cars made from the 5th of July, did you say?
It was, they were talking about, for me, I was just concentrating on Model 3s. So the 5th of July, 2019.
Really?
Yes.
Because
so,
I've got a July car, but it's after the 5th of July.
Then you should have it. You won't have the speaker in there.
Yeah.
But the wiring harness should be actually in there and then wrapped up and away. So even when you look under, you won't see anything, but then it's actually up there.
Well, you'll see the recess for where the speaker.
Yeah, if you just look under the plastic bit, you'll see like all these little holes where the sound would come out, and that's all a dead giveaway. Yeah, ours also had like at the back, like the plastic bit for the tow hitch to go under. So that's a dead giveaway as well, because that was the same time.
Yeah. You've now made me want to go and have a look. Can we pause this for a minute, please?
He'll be back in 10 minutes.
No, just go on your mobile. Just get your phone now. We'll do it live, Put your light on. Got a torch.
Yeah, go on.
Someone's got to do it. I don't have a Model 3 handy.
If you actually speak to
good on you, Paul. On your
Come on,
onto it. Champion.
If you speak to Jürgen about the racing car, he's actually got speakers that have been stuck on the bonnet underneath to create noise for safety for when he's racing, because he said to me that they've trying to develop a way of making noise. So they've got these 2 speakers stuck underneath the bonnet, to the bonnet, so facing upwards on the underside, that makes a whining sound, so that when he's racing, the road marshals can sometimes just sort of walk out into the road to have a look, and not realise that there's this very silent car coming up their rear end at 150 kilometres an hour. So from a safety point of view, he's got that fitted.
That's exactly what Peter's working on, Peter Harris.
Yeah, it's still in development. I've had trouble with feedback, but I've found some contact microphones. They work pretty well. But John's moving workshop at the moment, and the car's at Jürgen's, I think. So in the next week or so, I'll get there to fit it off. But I was just I'm about to climb under my car to see where this bloody speaker hole might be.
Where is it? There it is.
If you look
so
at
you guys
Paul,
can see it?
Paul can. Oh,
hang on. All right.
Oh,
there's
there
the
it is.
light. There's the
can see it.
light.
Yeah,
It's a bit hard with the iPad. Okay. That's me.
found it.
Oh.
yes.
Can you see it?
Yeah, yes. You can see the holes. Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's only a pissy speaker.
Yeah. Oh, getting too old for this.
You saw it live.
You saw it live. See, I wasn't lying. I know too much about these cars.
Cool. Excellent. So Peter, you can see on your car yourself, if you see those little holes, perforations.
Yeah, I've just been crawling under it and had a look. So that if we have trouble with getting the bonnet to resonate loudly enough, although I think it does, we could stick another one underneath the car as well. Have stereophonic.
Yes. Well, look, if Peter, if you had surround sound, you could make the car go forwards or backwards, like what the sound of it appear forwards or backwards.
There you go. We'll put a microphone on Helen so when she says naughty words, they can come out as well.
Or you could just fit an internal combustion engine to your car. That would also do it.
Yeah, well, you can get speakers for the Model 3 if you wanted to put like exhaust.
The whole point of buying an electric car is so that it doesn't make noise.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
This is for the rally. This is the rally car. So
yes,
in that case,
the idea that you would need to make noise so a marshal would know that you're coming seems a bit comical, though.
Well, I was speaking to Jürgen, and he said, from a safety point of view, they have to be very proactive, and this was discussed at many of the race safety meetings, and so they started to develop this system because it was considered a risk.
Yep.
For the marshals.
Indeed.
Anyway, John, who owns the car, wants the whiny noise. Not because he's an alcoholic, but the whining noise.
Oh dear. Yeah, I
wind the windows down and put on some doof music. You know.
Doof doof. Yeah. You can just go doof doof.
Unfortunately, if you wind the window down, your aerodynamics become worse.
If you had some big subwoofers, you could actually propel yourself from behind, like you.
That's it.
Yeah. Actually, if you had some
Just
cold gas thrusters,
the cold gas thrusters, so that they're propelling at the right frequency.
I tell you what, those cold gas thrusters are just all the frequencies at once at about probably 100 decibels.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna hear it.
Hey, Paul, I checked mine. Doesn't have the perforations. No.
Oh man.
No. So, but mine was so mine was a little bit later, about a week later, after the 5th of July, about mid-July. So.
Yeah, because I checked mine and it was July. Because when I heard about that we could retrofit, I immediately went out to the car and had a look.
I should remember
to
checking
do my
before.
own sounds.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go. Yeah.
No, I was just saying I remember checking before, but I think I've just buried it in the back of my mind.
Cool. Oh well. But I think, Peter, it's a small speaker, so I don't know that it'll have the volume that Jürgen would want anyway. Probably.
No. Oh well, the speaker drivers that are stuck under the bonnet are only what are they, about 3 inch diameter, if that. Only little ones, but they're pretty gutsy. But I've also got a compression driver, which is I think about 6 inches across. But I could put more perforations in that plastic and put a bigger driver down there.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I looked inside the car to see, but anyway. Now the next question is, with a speaker and hook it up, what else do you need to make it work or make it do anything for that matter separate from what I'm doing, but in the car, or you can't?
Well, like Paul
No,
said,
you need
a
Tesla
firmware
service.
update.
Yeah, from Tesla service.
Okay.
Nowhere else. It's $200 US to get it done. So it's the speaker and the service
amplifier.
The guy's time.
Yeah.
You know, the service technician's time. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And what can you make it do?
Oh, it comes with a whole bunch of noises, but you can also do 5 noises for yourself, whatever custom noises you want to do. So yeah, that's going to be awesome fun.
So that means you can load up a WAV file or a AAC file or whatever to a sound file.
I think so. Yeah.
Upload
Cowbells.
Yeah.
We need more cowbell.
Yeah. My grandson loves that one.
Yeah, go on to YouTube and and look up some of the videos of some of the custom ones that people have done. Some of them are brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's going to be great fun.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want the damn thing. And then it's like, oh, you can do your own noises. Oh, I want the thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. How to turn something like boring and potentially legal into a joke.
This would be a good one for whoever it was having trouble with the little old ladies in the shopping centre. You could feed the farts into it.
You can actually do that.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, dear.
We're a bunch of 12-year-olds.
What was that I heard today? That, you know, how people are really twitchy about people coughing, because, you know, nowadays people would cough to hide a fart, and they say that these days people actually fart to cover up their cough.
Oh, dear.
Anyway,
so guys, you may have heard something on social media today, and look, I can assure you that Joe Biden used the word sucker when he said this sucker is really fast.
Yes.
He didn't use the F word.
No.
Right.
It was an electric truck, wasn't he?
Yes.
The F-150, this
Yep.
is going to be huge. I was just looking at it on electric. Yeah, amazing. One of the most important electric vehicles by far, I reckon.
what, the F-150?
Yep.
It's important to get people stirred up. That's what is important. Joe Biden driving that truck in front of a big audience is critical.
And it only further legitimizes Tesla. The more brands go electric.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know we all know this, but yeah, it's you know.
I think he unfortunately sort of, because he was,
you know, the Star Truck's great on, you know, if
yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, he was obviously talking to a Ford audience, so he really had very little reference to Tesla at all.
Yeah.
And there was some talk that he was pitching his speech, like he was talking about supporting American-made cars. That weren't luxury ones, so that wasn't going to be the luxury versions. So clearly S's and X's will be out. And I think there was some unionisation thing he sort of said as well. He said that the car manufacturers, well, which is actually true, you know, all workers have the right to unionise if that's what they wish to do. So there was some concern that, you know, whether or not some of that funding would go to Tesla or would specifically not. But it was still, you know, all positive as far as, you know, Biden really saying that EVs are the solution, and that's what the federal government at least will be implementing.
But not our federal government. Angus Taylor won't drive an EV. Stupid.
No, we're too busy spending $600 million on another gas-fired power station.
I know, what a waste of money.
$2 billion.
The thing is, though, to give it a different perspective, though, industry is moving towards decarbonising anyway, irrespective of what the federal government are doing. So,
and our
two ways
our state government's opened up the new wind farm
in the wheat belt.
Oh, right.
Cool. That was officially opened today. 214 megawatts or something. It's enough to supply 200,000 homes, and even on the worst day in the year, they'll still get 107 megawatts out of it.
Wow. Yeah, the important thing about that wind farm is it's a 44% capacity factor. That's phenomenal for a on-land wind turbine farm.
Does that mean, Rob, so they'll be operating at 44% of the capacity, or?
Year round it's averaging 44%. That's really good for an onshore wind farm.
Okay.
Which as opposed to like solar is operating at 50%.
Oh,
or not even,
right.
I guess.
25%.
Whereabouts is it?
In the wheat belt.
So Meriden?
The big wheat belt.
I think it's called Yandin Wind Farm.
It's north of Perth.
About 150, 170 k's north.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Oh, up near Wedge Island somewhere inland.
Yeah.
Right, awesome.
It's 214 megawatts. Yeah, like you said, Nigel, can power 200,000 homes. Costs 450 million, and it's Yandin, Yandin. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so this is the
Okay, cool.
so yeah, you go. It's called yandinwindfarm.com.au, and if you go there, and it's just said it's officially opened by Bill Johnson today. 51 4.2 megawatt wind turbines.
150 local jobs.
Yep.
175 kilometers north of Perth.
Cool.
So
Fantastic.
Find it on the maps.
Is that
What's it
still
called?
on the, no,
Yandin?
it's a Linter, isn't it? It's not on the Swiss, is it?
Yeah.
You say Yandin?
Correct.
So that's the Brand Highway.
Oh, yeah.
It's off to the right, Yandin Road.
Fantastic.
So to put that into context, so the State Energy Minister, Bill Johnson, opened that today. Now, since the coalition's been in power, there's been over 100 solar farms that have opened. And who wants to have a guess as to how many of those openings were attended by a Liberal or National Minister or anyone from the government?
No, one.
Paul's onto it. No,
One.
Zero. Paul's onto
One.
it. Scott
Scotty.
Morrison was at the one that Andrew Forrest had. That was a couple of months ago, and he managed to do a opening speech that went on, I don't know for how long, called 8, 10, 12 minutes. Guess what's the one word that he didn't mention during that whole speech?
Oh yeah, I've heard solar. No solar.
Yeah. So he's opening a solar farm, and the one word he managed not to mention during the whole opening speech is the word solar. Scotty from marketing. So don't tell me those speeches aren't, written and.
We got our own Trump,
Things can change quickly.
Oh,
Does Scotty from marketing watch this?
Of course he does, along with Elon.
I believe Elon from SpaceX does.
Our Lord and Savior Elon.
Techno king of Tesla. Deutsch father.
Actually, I think.
See,
go on, Rob.
Angus Taylor said that he won't drive an electric car. But did you know, it was on Twitter today, that his electric office is about 100 metres from Australia's biggest supercharger store.
No, didn't know that. That's
in
brilliant.
Goulburn. It's an eight charge store. Plus they've got generic DC there as well.
Can he see it from his office? That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
The irony, hey?
Yeah.
Guys are turkey.
That, well, getting back to that gas-fired power station they're going to spend $600 million on. I heard that that's only going to be used,
2% of the time.
Which is like
it's a peaker. Yeah,
it's like a week in the year, if not less. A few days in the whole year that they'll actually use it.
And it's just crazy because so Angus Taylor and Scott Morrison are saying batteries just won't do it.
But how much battery can you buy for $600 million?
Exactly. And they had Ian Dunlop on the project tonight. So he's a veteran oil and gas and coal executive, but he's now turned the page and he's very much pro the environment and pro action on climate change. And he was just saying that it's absolute nonsense. But what just infuriates me is, even if you don't believe in climate change or you've got a philosophical opposition to it or whatever the issue that you have, just pure normal economics. I mean, the Liberal and party. They were all for, letting the free market decide. This just runs completely against all of that. Even if you don't believe in, action on climate change, do it for financial reasons. The market won't do it. The market won't touch it because it's going to be a stranded asset before it's even live.
Well,
before it's built.
This is true, but I mean, we all know why it's happening. So,
well, they've got to please the donors.
Well, comparing the Hornsdale Power Reserve, which it was
Exactly.
about 100 megawatt hours, and it cost about $30 million. So that means for 600 million at that sort of cost, you would get 2,000
megawatt
hours, 2
to
gigawatt
get
hours
2 gig
of storage.
Yeah.
Which is
2
massive.
gigawatts. Sorry, yeah.
There's a better way to do this though. $600 million. If the New South Wales government gave a $3,000 incentive for people to install a battery, that's 200,000 home batteries or 2.6 gigawatt hours.
Yeah.
And it's spread across the grid.
But batteries won't do it, Rob.
Apparently not.
Ian Dunlop said on the project tonight, he said, Scott Morrison and Angus Taylor. Now, I don't know how old he is, but so he's at least 70 or 80. And he's a 70 or 80-year-old man saying that Scott Morrison and Angus Taylor are 10 years behind with their thinking about the technology. I mean, man.
Yeah. Yep. And by the way, Angus Taylor is 54.
Yeah.
Is that gas peaker plant actually going to get built?
Oh, I hope not.
Pete, you're saying that they're 10 years behind in their thinking. I don't think they think. They're told what to do by the oil and gas people.
The thing is, though, but I think there is starting to become a lot more opposition to these things. I do wonder whether it'll actually happen, just because it even on news programs that I wouldn't normally, expect to maybe question these sorts of things are mentioning it a lot now. So, and the question of batteries is being constantly asked to these politicians. So, I don't know. I have a feeling that things may. Putting something up like that is just, it's just getting a lot of ire now from people that wouldn't normally give them ire.
I guess the only issue could be that if they say it's only going to run for 2% of the time, then it's actually not consuming a lot of fossil fuel. It's just consuming a lot of money.
I mean, if you look at it from a jobs creation perspective, then it generates the economy, gives lots of people construction jobs, and then never gets used.
But how many more jobs would you get if you did what Rob suggested and give every person in New South Wales $3,000 towards a battery?
Of course, I'm just trying to see a positive in
there. There is no positive. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter any way you slice it. I'm yet to hear an argument that even makes half sense, and I still haven't heard one for it. Yeah. I mean, if you're saying batteries won't cut it, we've just gone through the numbers. It's what 600 mil will buy. If you're referring to the economics, well, look at Hornsdale, like Harold said. And that's been a raging success. So much so that they're expanding it now. But it was earning something like close to $1 million a day at one point for the South Australian government. And
AEMO, the energy regulator, had to change their regulations to actually, because the what's called grid services, which is frequency control and just very quick backup to bring a plant on. Their minimum time period was 6 seconds, because that was the fastest you could bring a spinning reserve
power station
online. Yeah, online. That's actually a spinning reserve. Now the Hornsdale plant could come online in probably 6 milliseconds. And
fractions of a second. Yeah.
Yeah, in a fraction of a second. So it actually was was providing a service that was never being paid for. So EMO had to actually change their regulations so they could actually pay the Hornsdale Battery Reserve for the services that they're actually providing. Which was almost instantaneous response.
Yeah.
And, and Hornsdale proved that they could go from instantaneous drawing of energy to actually instantaneous reversal. So they could go from, I forget how many megawatts they can. They were 104 megawatt hours or so. I'm not sure how many megawatts they were producing.
They're added more now.
They could basically go from, let's call it 50 megawatts. They could go from from consuming 50 megawatts to supplying 50 megawatts, and the transition time was only 1 or 2 seconds, which makes a huge difference.
So technically, the technology is superior. It costs less money. It provides more jobs. It's going to be here for the future rather than something that's going to be a stranded asset, in a couple of years' time. It's a lot better for the environment, and all the other things that the battery storage can do that a coal-fired, gas-fired peaker can't.
Is it not the equivalent of a government saying we're going to put a big hay reserve along the Great Northern Highway for those that want to use horses, and they're going to have troughs?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's like that last gasp of we're going to, because horses are essential, and you can depend on them.
I think what we need is that these guys need to be accountable. We say, okay, Angus, we believe you.
100%.
But if we find that you've actually done something corrupt or whatever, we're allowed to sue you. And we hold you accountable. ScoMo, we hold you accountable. And then that would be fine. But since they're in power.
Why not hold it up to a competitive tender?
Yeah.
Truly. $600 million.
Well,
you work out, what's this peaker plant going to produce? Is however many, I think it's a gigawatt. I think it might be a gigawatt. Well,
I can't remember.
If we can do we go to Tesla and say, for $600 million, what can you provide?
Yeah.
And they'll probably provide 2 gigawatts and 2 gigawatt hours of storage.
Yeah, because I saw a story today, I think it was, Vermont. Their utility is actually doing like a virtual power plant and using Tesla's auto bidder program, AI to actually do it. So you're just going, well, it's something that could be just done. And like
South Australia, they're doing that in South Australia already as well. Yeah.
So
using power walls.
So as Rob was saying, if you did that that subsidy of $3,000, you could have 2.6 gigawatt hours of power walls.
Yeah.
And the good thing about that is being distributed. There's not you're immune to a single event such as a fire or a big breakdown or something, because
gas shortage
everywhere.
Because it's decentralized rather than one point of failure.
Well, remember, there were 2 gas issues. There was one at Varanus Island where I think they cancelled footy night games because they didn't have the lights on at the stadium at Subiaco Oval. Because we had a big power shortage because Varanus Island was most of that domestic gas went via Varanus Island, and when that blew up, or the processing part blew up, WA had a gas shortage. The other one was in Melbourne. One of the refineries or gas plants there blew up, and they had a huge power shortage as well. So and look at the States with their petrol pipeline. So they're really subject to the whims of if one piece of equipment goes down, we're in big trouble. But if you've got a distributed virtual power plant, well, there's thousands of them for redundancy.
Yeah. So that's another benefit. So I think we're up to 6 or 7. And what the crazy thing is that they're using public money. They're using your and my tax money to do it, because the market won't touch it. It's like...
Yes, because as they said, there was market failure. But the point is, and this is the opposite to what's happening to car charging in WA, fast DC charging. There's market failure in fast DC chargers, but that's because it's at the start of the adoption curve.
Yeah.
Whereas, of course, the fossil fuel industry is at the end of the adoption curve. They're the sunset industry, whereas EVs, car charging, solar, renewables are at the sunrise portion of the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, Pete. It's just crazy. I tell you what, why don't we say you can spend the $600 million, but why not match it with another 600 million for battery storage? You know, because since we're pumping out a couple of $100 billion in stimulus, let's just flick 600 million into another battery storage unit.
Hey Harold, this is being recorded. Let's have a bet, or let's have a
wager.
Oh yeah, let's see how many years before it's a non-economic asset.
Oh, that gas plant.
0.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah.
Well, all right,
that was going to be
okay, so what we should do.
I'm saying it's never going to be economic, ever.
I
it's got to be a
it's never going to
stranded
be built.
asset. Yeah.
Actually, and you know what? If someone actually does build a battery reserve in that same region that serves the same purpose, the battery will eat its lunch because it will always be cheaper.
Yeah.
So
it'll be faster.
Like the Hornsdale Power Reserve has been cutting the lunch of all the peaker plants and running them out of business because it can respond so much faster and cheaper. So the wholesale price when you get those ultra peak times has gone from, what's the maximum price, Pete? Is it $50,000 per megawatt hour or something? It's a huge
something like that.
And that's like a structural ceiling that they've just done because otherwise it gets a bit crazy. Any battery will eat the lunch of that gas plant.
Oh.
So yeah, okay, well it is recorded in perpetuity.
I would agree with Paul and say it won't get built, but we will lose the money. The money will disappear.
Yeah.
Probably to the Cayman Islands.
Yeah.
Or
You got right.
oil and gas companies that support the Liberal Party federally. Because they've just given them $2 billion to keep a couple of plants open to make the petrol.
Oh, yes. Yes, the refineries, 2 refineries.
Yeah, I mean, it's all for the security of the nation. Yeah, buying some batteries helps secure it as well, but...
Yeah, exactly. Then we don't need to go to war with anyone.
Yeah, if they were worried about the security of the nation, they would have kept Kwinana open because it's next to half Australia's Navy.
I thought that was what the point was that they were going to do.
No, Kwinana's still going to close. It's going to keep Geelong and Melbourne open.
I thought Kwinana is closed, the refinery.
Yeah.
The refinery is
Yeah,
closed.
yeah.
It's just only a receival place.
Kwinana. Yeah, is it closed or almost closed?
No, Kwinana's closed. It's gone. Okay. No, they've closed. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
the
took
point
it to
that
mean
they're
that they
keeping
would-
Victoria open is because it's near the part of Australia that they actually care about.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
I just want to say on this, it was very satisfying the day we capped the gas off, and it was only a couple of weeks ago when we got the air source heat pump installed. And it was a glorious moment, turning that valve, closing the account.
I did the same
goodbye.
thing. I did the same thing, Richard, last week.
Excellent.
Ran
I
that
think-
code
I
because
think-
I'm not even Jason.
Jace did it as well.
Yes.
We've all done it about the same time.
Yes, yeah, I did that. I got a iSource heat pump. And what was cool is it took 270 litres of water that started at 23 degrees, heated it to 53 degrees in 3 hours, and consumed 3 kilowatt hours of electricity, which is nothing.
Yeah,
it's great, isn't it?
I mean, Robin, did it ages ago, a couple of years ago now, I think.
Yeah, last year.
No, was it last year?
Yeah.
But yeah, part of the reason as well, though, is that I don't even know, gas is cheap, obviously, for the climate change and pollution aspect, but I kind of think that the more customers that leave and take their business away, the higher the prices have to be for everyone else. And then the more other people think, do you know what, I'm just going to go air source heat pump. And it becomes an accelerating thing. And I found with obviously those of us that have got power walls, I see it as a community service as well, that, I'm not pumping that solar out into the grid at the worst time for everyone else. I'm, is shifting it into the evening and then, using a bit of it to charge the car at night and then the rest off the grid. So, I think it definitely helps the Swiss grid.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We've been off reticulated gas or LNG for about 11 years, but I'm cheating a little bit because we use the LPG cylinders, but it's only for the stovetop. That's the only thing, because my wife just won't cook on electric for some reason.
Oh, Pete, no, don't use electric. Use induction.
Just change it.
Yeah, induction, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what. But yeah, won't
seriously, I can personally recommend an ASCO, whatever it is. Insert model name here, whatever. And I'll be approaching ASCO after we record this, and we might put their little promo thing just up there. Oh mate, they're just awesome.
Harold, I showed her videos of chefs doing boiling an egg test for induction cooktop versus gas, and the egg came out better, and and it was faster and everything else.
Pete, tell her that the gas is poisoning her.
Yeah, no, she's a greenie. She's, but that's just one. Yeah, that's just one thing that she just. Yeah.
Look, just do it, Pete. What's that saying? It's much easier to seek forgiveness than permission.
Than permission. I love that phrase. I live by that.
Yeah. I live by that. I like that.
Well, what you can do actually, what you will do is you'll just plonk in the induction thing. You'll wire it up. You will wisely keep the gas line just there, just in case, and go look, and then get a whole new lot of pots and pans, which actually are really cheap these days. Like get really cheap.
We've even got a Thermomix, and she uses that quite a bit too. So it's we hardly even uses it, but yeah, still. Yeah.
But no, I can highly recommend. Oh man, the way you can simmer on an induction to nothing, you can almost like proof dough, like on an induction cooktop. It can go so low. And yet,
because you've got much better control, haven't you?
Oh yes, and you can dump. You can dump in some of them. You can dump over 5 kilowatts, or even some of them are 7 kilowatts of energy into one pot.
Whoa!
Wow!
So yeah, because the one I got's it's 3-phase, and it's got a total power draw of 11 kilowatts.
Oh,
what?
You must be melting the pots.
Yeah.
Well, no. Well, actually, it's really good because it's got like these different modes. So you can have a mode that it boils water, so it'll just go to 100 degrees and boil it, but won't overboil. Then you got one that's like a 95-degree, simmer, and then you got roasting, not roasting, but grilling and various different functions. But you've also got the 0 to 10 control. They are, and you can even get an induction wok.
Did you say that was ASCO, Harold? I think
that was ASCO. Yeah. It's the.
They're very good stuff. They're from Sweden.
I think we might be needing an upgrade.
No, they're not from Sweden. No, I think they're by Apple. They're designed in Sweden and made where all good Apple products are made.
Yeah.
But no, seriously. Yeah, people think gas is good. No, it's just not the same.
Yeah, I agree.
We've got a really expensive kettle, and we've got an induction cooktop, and our induction cooktop can boil water faster than our kettle can.
Wow.
Yes, it can. Yes, it can.
Boil water in under a minute. We've got one of those ones that goes 0 to 9, and then it's got like P for power and just.
Surely you must be able to get an induction
kettle.
No, so the kettle, Richard, a normal kettle is 100% efficient. Like, there's nothing wrong with a normal kettle. but it's limited to 2.4 kilowatts to 10 amps. Right?
Sure, of course.
But an
it is.
induction cooktop, if you're feeding it with 3 phase, 16 amps 3 phase, that's 11 kilowatts.
Oh yeah.
That's
the car
you're drawing as much as the Model 3 when it's charging.
Yeah, I was
It
just
is,
going to say that. It's what my car draws.
It's a beautiful.
And you can actually get like a
analogy.
wok. You can get a wok that's got a flat base because it needs to be flat to. Well, actually, Miele produce and don't buy this because it's ridiculously expensive. They actually they have a glass cooktop that has like a bowl, like a glass. It's bowled out for where you put their special wok. But I mean, that's just ridiculously expensive.
It does not actually need to be flat. It doesn't.
Not totally. No, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. So as long as it's within like an inch of the surface, it'll work.
Really? All right, okay.
Who said
Makes
they're
sense.
cheap? I mean, haven't you seen copper prices lately?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just while I'm on the air, this is the new Tesla cryptocurrency, and this is the expected. So this is the expected price that it'll start at. So that's 10 billion.
10 billion.
There's actual. It's a Serbian hyperinflationary banknote.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say it's the United States, the new the banknotes issued in the US.
Harold,
Rob,
just want to jump in here a minute. Ken, do you want to talk about July 3rd?
Oh, yes.
Do you want me to talk about it, or you want to jump in? Do you want me to introduce what's going on first?
Yeah, do that, Rob. That'll be good.
Okay. Obviously, you've heard Ken before. He runs the Silk Thai restaurant on Mandurah Terrace on the foreshore. It's a very popular restaurant. So Ken's got some great plans for his restaurant and his Tesla Performance Model 3. So Tesla Owners Club of Western Australia have been invited to help out for the day, supply some cars, some knowledge, and just generally be involved in the whole event. So Ken, I'll let you go from here.
Okay, well, thanks very much for introducing that. Yeah, I hadn't wanted to do this, I guess, on the first day, but that's no problem. I'm very excited about what's happening in the Tesla space. But for me, it's about having the ability to provide something to everybody in the community and to help push the idea of electric vehicles. So our restaurant has been here for 9 years, and I actually opened a restaurant in Germany recently, but closed it because of COVID, and came back here and realized I've got to do something else. So what we decided to do is to put an electric vehicle charging station out the front of our restaurant, directly in front of the restaurant, and I'll put that on PlugShare and so on. I think we've just decided to put a 7 to 22 kilowatt charger out there in a single bay, and also have a Model 3 performance vehicle available for rental out the front, and also to try and show people how amazing these vehicles are. It'll be sign written similar to the Rally TOCEVA vehicle. You guys talked about it? Yeah, Tokiva vehicle. Excuse me, I'm new to this. And it'll have things like green future logos, and hopefully the Tesla Owners of Western Australia's logo, obviously my restaurant logo, and a few other messages on it to try and get people to get excited about it. We'll have some signs out the front, illuminated signs, and I'll be there available to talk to people about electric vehicles and answer their questions and try and promote it every single day that I'm open at the restaurant. Wow. The charging station will be bring your own cable, but I'll also have a Type 2 to Type 2 cable available here for anyone who wants to use it. And it'll be in a locked box with a padlock with a code on it that we'll put into the PlugShare app on the ChargeBox app, so that people can come in and unlock it, but it won't be vandalized. Silk Thai restaurant obviously provides really lovely place right on the foreshore for people to come and enjoy a meal and charge their vehicle while they're here enjoying the meal. And I will give people free charging if they come and dine with us at the restaurant for lunch or dinner. Apart from that, if I do get a good number of rentals going and it becomes worthwhile, I'll try to add other vehicles to the fleet and make it a proper EV rental service here in Mandurah, Western Australia. I guess that's about the introduction to it.
That's fantastic, Ken. That's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Ken. Thanks.
That is awesome.
We'll be coming down.
Yes, excellent. That's really good.
I guess I didn't mention what Rob was saying is that I plan to have a proper launch event here on the 3rd of July. And that will involve live radio feeds with Coast FM, full page ads in the newspapers, local newspapers, and Rob and the team, obviously at Tesla Owners Club, have been extremely helpful in offering to bring electric vehicles to our car park in front of the restaurant for 3 hours on Saturday afternoon, the 3rd of July. And I would really love to invite you all, with Rob's approval, of course, to show off any vehicles that you have. We have 16 bays here. We have approval from the landlord and the other tenants to run this event, and to install the charging bay, of course. And we'd like to make a big thing of it. So I guess spread the word to people who might be interested to come down and visit. I understand that there's an EV Meets event in Mandurah somewhere the week before that. But our one will be pretty much in front of our restaurant and designed to not only promote electric vehicles, but our restaurant as well in my own way. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm happy to come down and help with that, Ken.
I'm home at that time.
I'm sure we could get 16 cars down there. No problems at all. Yeah.
I've spoken to Rob about me as well, so I'm definitely keen.
Yeah, we'll come down too if your restaurant is child friendly.
Same. Have you got a high chair?
So that's a
yes. I do have a high chair, and for those of you who need one, we are child friendly. The restaurant's closed usually between 2 and 5, which is when this event is happening. But I'll have the doors open. You can all come in and have a drink and have a chat, as well as hopefully we'll do these. Anyone can take someone away on a ride in their vehicle. That's what Rob has suggested is a good thing to do. But I don't know if it's if Rob wants to say something more about how he would like to help run that, because I'm not experienced in that, and Rob obviously has a whole lot of experience in knowing how to lay out the vehicles and have the appropriate people say the appropriate things to people who might be interested in electric vehicles. I'm having trouble with my spacebar to unmute myself, so I'm going to go off mute again now.
So Rob, please explain how we're going to help Ken out.
Well, the main thing is I've said to Ken is the drivers that we have down there, and the drivers that have just put the hand up is people who know the car really well, and will explain the car correctly, just like we have with general car meets. So the right information is getting across to the public. So all you guys that put your hand up, you all know the drill. How to put the car across the right presentation. And if you want to take people for a drive in your car, that's good. I mean, obviously, my personal opinion is you don't let anyone else drive your car.
No.
But it's up to you what you want to do. Pete's got a great idea where people have to put their license into the screen. But it's up to you. But I think people are just happy to sit in your car and look at it and talk about it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Absolutely. And look, the great thing these days too is that anyone that wants to drive a Tesla can do so for half an hour, unfettered, unsupervised, from the Osborne Park display centre.
There's an age limit though, Harold, isn't there? So yes. For the performance, I think you have to be over 25.
Yep.
And yeah.
Yes, true. So for those graduate graduates out there, uni graduates, you got to wait a bit longer, or just order it cold, because that's what I did. That's what Rob did. That's what Pete did.
That's what I did.
That's what Richard. No, Richard, you probably drove your sisters.
No, that was way before that. But I did test drive a left-hand drive Model S back in the UK,
right.
Obviously, which is a right-hand drive country, like early. Must have been 2015.
Right, so you already had to try before you buy, whereas Rob, myself, and Pete, we just went on the numbers. We just looked.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it was all about the.
I probably wouldn't, because I bought my car completely unseen from New South Wales, from a guy there that was buying a 7-seat Model X, but I had it checked out by a vehicle, proper professional, but I wouldn't have bought it, I don't think, had I not have had a test drive in one at some point.
Well, as we all know, I'm looking for Shane. I think Shane's actually left us. Yeah, he has. If Shane watches this later, of course, last week he had a great story of how he bought his car, and he test drove the car from Tesla for half an hour, and was fairly sure, but not certain. So then Harry really wisely said, well, you know what, if you just put down a reservation for a whole $150, you can try this car out overnight. And that was the clincher.
Oh, yeah.
And that was when he actually, totally at random, ended up, as via a circuitous route, he ended up at the Rose and Crown on that 2 Wednesdays ago that we were there. But
wow.
We didn't know he was there, and he didn't know we were there. But
he was in the front, we were in the back.
Yeah, but he's ordered his car and he's getting it in a couple of weeks. And it's when you can put your bum in that seat and you can take it for a spin. So as much as we will take people for rides, and like Rob suggested, it's always great to take someone for a ride, not necessarily have them drive your car, depending on your sort of comfort level. The great point now is that you can go to Osborne Park and book a test ride. In fact, I think they're aiming for at least 100 test rides a week.
Yeah.
And imagine if you only get, say, 20% of those people to convert. There's 20 sales a week.
It's got to. It'll be more than that. Surely, I think it'd be.
Oh yeah.
Well, even at 20% per week, or 20 cars a week, that's 1,000 cars a year. That's more than the fleet was last year.
Well, two of my mates actually from work have tested Model 3s there, but one wants the performance Model Y, and he was just trying out the 3 just to see what it felt like. And my other mate, Paul, actually wants a Cybertruck, but the base one, and he wanted to try a standard range Model 3 because it would be about the same performance, and he just wanted to feel what that performance was like, and he didn't want to try the performance model for that reason. He wanted to see what the cheapest one would do. So I guess it's not necessarily, people that are going to buy right now, but I just want to make that point, I guess.
But even like I said, 20% of 100 is 20 a week, which is 1,000 a year, and 20% that's not that many. Well, it's a lot of sales, but you can have a lot of tire kickers, like you say, Richard, that are either going to buy a different model later or are just sussing it out.
I went to the performance Model 3 for a test drive, and it took me all of 2 minutes to decide to buy.
And you know what? Your biggest regret, your absolute humongous regret, and your only regret will be that you didn't do it sooner.
Yeah. I mean, I've given over a couple of 100 test rides to people, and I, sold a few with just the ride. They've just gone, I was going to get a Merc, no, forget it. And they've gone and bought a Tesla.
Yep.
Brilliant. They bought, well done. Yeah. So, didn't use my code, but don't care.
No, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter because the more, you know, how good is it to drive down the road and you go, oh, look, a Tesla.
Yeah,
Oh,
you go, hi.
Yeah, there's a poverty Pearl White Model 3 going by.
And,
Oh, there's
and they
another
never
one.
bloody wave back.
I paid more money for Pearl White. I paid more money for Pearl White. Damn it.
Yes, you did, because the default color was black in those days.
Yep.
And I got my black for free. And I wanted white.
You know,
I'll do a swap with you, Pete. You can have my 3, which is white. I'll take your 3, which is black.
Actually, you've got a performance, haven't you, Nigel?
Yeah, he
No.
performs very nicely.
No, he hasn't even got a long range. He's got SR Plus.
I think it's an SR Plus.
Do those test drive cars in Austin Park have full self-driving?
Sorry,
What's
James?
that, Jane?
Do the test cars at Osborne Park have full self-driving?
Don't know.
Don't know.
Yes, they do, because it stopped at the red lights when I was driving mine, and it continued on at the red lights, and that's FSD function, I think.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so they've all got the full package, but obviously they don't have, you know, the full automatic self-driving.
Yes, no, that's right. Yeah, because it doesn't exist. It's vaporware at the moment until it gets turned on properly.
No, it's got the future capability.
But the thing with Tesla, that one thing Tesla can do is that what they can give, they can equally take away. So in the States in particular, apparently if you have a second-hand car that you return to Tesla or they buy off you, they will then sell it minus full self-driving and minus all the features.
Unless you pay for it again.
Yes.
Which means they've sold the self-driving twice in that one car. Yeah.
Yes, and they haven't necessarily, for the person that they bought it off, given them the value of that. They haven't given them $10,000 extra value.
Exactly.
Because that's depreciated already, along with the rest of the car. But yes, so that's the great thing of software switches. You can switch them on and off at no cost. But
I don't know, Harold, if I wouldn't argue that the car's depreciated, but the FSD capability has appreciated. So whatever value they gave them, the depreciation would be mainly reflected by the car.
Well, true, because I could imagine, like say my car, which is a 4-year-old car, or just over 4 years, but it has what now is allegedly full self-driving capability. So you could say that my car's depreciated value, present value is lowish, or you know, it's a fraction of what it was. But when full self-driving and the robo-taxi network turns on, its value could suddenly jump by 50K overnight. Because I could just go and send it out on Ubering or the equivalent 24/7 and earn a pretty penny.
Or you can have it drop your kids off at school, or pick up supplies from Bunnings, or you know, and that's got to be, your time's got to be worth something.
Well, I actually did both of those things today, so that would have been definitely worth it. And by the way, I can report that a Model X, even the 7-seat old-fashioned one, can actually hold 3-meter long bits of wood studs and framing and stuff. So yeah, it's they are long cars. I'm sure the Cybertruck could carry something longer, but anyway.
You know what they should do with the Cybertruck? What they've done with the Bollinger, where you can put it right through the whole length of the car.
I saw that in LA at the, I forget what the motor show is called. It's probably the LA Motor Show, I guess. And that was on at the same time as the Cybertruck unveiled. So yeah, sure enough, I saw the Bollinger, and I tell you what, like the seats, they're not seats that you sit in, they're like chairs, because they've got just tubular frames with like a foam bench on it, like that you sit on. But yes, you can look right through the whole car, through the center.
I believe they patented that. I think they patented that.
Really? So maybe they could do that for Western Power as one of their sort of electric transport vehicles for their light poles, because you could have a power pole going right through the centre. Oh dear. I imagine if you were like a bird or something, because cars hit birds all the time. You could be the luckiest bird in the world if you manage to score the centre and go right through.
I could do with one of those up here.
Oh dear. Cool. So has anyone else got any other sort of questions or comments or anything? Any news bits we might have missed?
In the on the screen showing the cars around you when you're driving, I thought it used to show a car or two ahead of the car immediately in front. But I'm noticing that it's disappeared and it only ever shows the car immediately in front. And I'm wondering if this is a little update that's been squeezed in where we're not seeing the cars in front because that's done by radar.
No, I've got the latest update yesterday, and it's still often, but not always, will show a car in front of the car in front of you. But I have noticed that if that car, in other words, the two cars ahead of you, if it is some distance in front of the car in front of you, it stops showing it. So I think the radar bouncing technique, where it can actually effectively, some of the radar goes under the car in front of you and hits the other car. I think there might be a limit, a distance limit to where it bothers to show that or can sense that.
I'll double check. I haven't seen a car in front of the car for a few days. I've never noticed it.
I've got the new update and I see them.
I've got the new update as well. Yeah, okay.
I'm the same as Harold. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, James. It might be just a.
Look, it might just be the times I'm looking at the screen, noticing it. I'll keep a closer eye out.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, there is. I believe this latest software. I heard one of its features was supposed to be better animal depictions or detection.
Yes.
Yes. But I think a limited number of animals, probably not kangaroos.
Cats and dogs, I think, mostly. So dogs, because they're a bit bigger.
Yes. I went past a black cat the other day and I had to swerve several times and I still missed it. But anyway.
What was that? What was that thing on social media today about the guy dressed in a white bodysuit running in front of his car pretending to be a dog?
Haven't seen that.
Was that a Tesla in front of his Tesla?
Yeah, it was in front of a Model 3. And I don't know, he was trying to prove something, whether the car could detect dogs on the road. I don't know. But
it's trying to get him to show up as a dog in the car.
Did it work?
Kind of. Yeah, it's a bit weird, a bit random. Yeah, it did, but yeah, no.
Right.
But it also did, and it was a bit spotty. The one that I saw anyway.
It's.
I was going to say, are we talking about the Jack Massey Welch video where he got his girlfriend to dress up as a witch's hat, and she basically came up as a dog?
Yeah, but it doesn't happen straight away. She went in front of the car and it took. Yeah, it was like looking at it, and then it finally came up.
Have you ever seen the video by JP Tesla where his car stops for a cow up in the Kimberley at night? It's quite unbelievable how I just didn't expect it would do this, but the car was slowing before the headlights picked up the cattle. Oh, wow. and his co-driver was saying, "You're gonna put your foot on the brake?" He said, "No, let's see if the car stops." And the car slowed to a stop. Cows are really hard to see up north at night.
That would have been the radar, which he's now taking out, not worrying about.
Yeah, that's got me puzzled actually, because because Musk was saying, you know, humans use vision, and the roads are obviously, you know, designed to work with vision. But humans use radar as an extra ability. So why wouldn't an autonomous Tesla?
Because what Elon said is that if you've got two inputs and one input is better than the other, then the second one is not actually adding anything because the first one's better. So why have the second one at all?
Yeah, but we have cars now that are manually driven, but with adaptive cruise control, radar-based cruise control. So
yeah, but the whole phantom braking thing,
yes,
is apparently caused by radar.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, right.
That's without saying it. That's the reason they're removing it.
Yeah. Okay.
They can't deal with the phantom braking problems.
That's right. And he was saying that the data rate, unless you had high data rate, high resolution radar, which doesn't exist at the moment, or at least not at a reasonable price. Well, although I sort of agree with you, Richard, I would have still thought that the feature of bouncing radar underneath the car in front of you, because no camera can see what's in front of, say, a truck.
Well, Elon addressed that on Twitter. So someone asked him that exact question, and his answer to that was, well, you're going to have 5 different cameras with different focal lengths, all looking forward. There's a good chance that one of those is going to have line of sight to the car in front of the car in front of you.
A good chance.
I'm a little confused. Why would you actually care what's in front of the car in front of you?
It's about when someone brakes in front of the car and you don't realise, and then that's happened a few times in peak hour traffic. Like the car in front brakes, my car brakes, and then the car directly in front finally brakes, you know.
Well, I've got a practical example. I was on Mitchell Freeway, was driving my car, and all of a sudden it braked really, really hard, and my head went forward, and I was about to put my foot on the accelerator to override it to say, look, what's going on? And then I noticed white smoke, not from the car in front of me, but the car in front of that. And then the car in front of me sort of swerved and went into the emergency lane. But there's no way that I would have been able to stop in time. And if it wasn't for that, I probably would have gone into the car in front of me. So that's why you want it.
Good point.
Cool.
Maybe we need to start a campaign to save our radar.
Save our radar. Save the radar.
I've had similar things, over the years, and not as dramatic as that, but exactly.
But it's incredible how quickly they iterate and change things, because it wasn't that long ago that they were updating the radar. Remember, they got a radar that had twice the length and a bigger field of vision vertically, and now they've removed it altogether. So.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Because obviously with that Florida incident several years ago with the Model S, that hit the side of the semi-trailer crossing across the highway.
Oh, that one.
They then decided to use radar as the primary source of detection and have vision as the backup. But obviously it's gone full circle.
Well, the other problem with radar is that if you have lots of cars all using the same frequency radar, it gets really hard to tell what's an emission from your radar and what's an emission from somebody else's.
Well, maybe you should use LiDAR.
So that's the same problem. That's got exactly the same problem.
Well, no, it hasn't, because it's using laser.
Yeah, but it's the laser light. I mean, if you're doing time of flight, for your laser, you have to be sure that that light is coming from your laser sources rather than somebody else's. Otherwise, it's essentially just turned into noise. And essentially, the problem's the same with LiDAR as it is with radar. And the more sources you get, and the more emissions that are bouncing around everywhere, the worse it gets. So at the moment, it's not particularly bad because there aren't that many cars on the road that are using radar or using LiDAR. But when every car is using, is basically driving down the road and is just painting everything all the time, and you potentially ending up with a huge problem.
Well, we don't go crashing into each other using radar cruise control. And I mean, most cars nowadays use the radar cruise control.
That's
Do
true.
most cars have radar cruise control?
Yeah. A lot of the Beamers and yeah, a lot
But,
of them.
but on the road, of all the cars driving down the road any moment, are all of the cars using that?
No.
Well,
It'll be
not all
small.
of them, but a lot of them have it fitted.
But it's not whether you have it fitted. It's whether you use it, whether it's activated at the time, isn't it? It wouldn't always be on.
But a similar argument would be many cars have ultrasonics that are blaring out the whole time.
Yeah, but the range is only about what, 5 feet?
I think Tesla quotes a fair bit more than that, but yeah, I guess you could say it's something. Well, yeah, maybe 3 meters. I don't know.
Yeah,
depends.
But it wouldn't be all that far with ultrasonics. So
yeah, it's true. But it is interesting. It's Elon Musk is certainly good at directing or altering the direction of the way engineering goes.
I'm predicting about 10 steps ahead.
Yeah.
And I guess he does say quite rightly, when you've got just bags of meat in a driver's seat with just 2 eyes, humans do a fairly good job of driving, notwithstanding that I think, what's his name? Diesel.
Vin Diesel.
No, not Vin Diesel.
You're talking about driving. I mean,
I forget his first name. Anyway, the German gentleman that invented the diesel engine. I think Rudolf Diesel. I think he said that in the entire world, or maybe it was Carl Benz. I'm not sure. One or the other said that he thought that there are only 1 million people in the entire world that were capable of driving a car. And this was at the turn of the last century.
Might be right.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so Elon Musk quite rightly says that, well, with two eyes, two very basic, very flawed cameras in the front of your head, and with all the other foibles of humanity, humans do all right. So
and a mobile phone in your hand.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes. Which Tesla on autopilot is still illegal. So just a big shout out for that, but is a lot safer relatively than anyone else. But he said you've got 8 cameras and ultrasonics and other things, and a computer that never gets tired.
Yeah, but the computers are really, really stupid.
For now.
Yeah. But it's getting better. And version 9 autopilot or FSD is well, like he says, it's just a step change in performance. So I guess we'll have to see.
It's a couple of weeks away.
Is that like fusion
hydrogen?
Is that like fusion power is always 25 years away?
That's what I was saying, like hydrogen's 20 years away. Oh, sorry, I said the H word.
No, you're right, Paul. Hydrogen is the future and always will be.
Yeah.
For heavy shipping.
And
I
yet,
think that's Rob saying, actually.
and yet, every single hydrogen atom is 13.8 billion years old.
13.77, but
Oh yeah, give or take. Unlike helium, which is actually, you actually get helium out of gas wells because it's a breakdown product of radioactive decay of something, uranium or something. But yes,
very nice to breathe.
Yes, makes you sound funny.
Good for diving.
Yes, yes, very. Well, you have to, because otherwise you get nitrogen narcosis.
So what do you think about the International Energy Agency declaring that all ICE vehicles should be banned from sale by 2035? So they came out with
2025
last day or two. 2035, all ICE vehicles, all new ones. If we want to hit the only 1.5 degrees by 2050.
Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more.
And Scotty from marketing will probably disagree.
Bring it 10 years forward and we're still going to hit 1.5.
Yeah.
No one's going to buy an ICE vehicle from a showroom after 2027.
Oh, now there's another there's another bet. So
you're on record now, Rob.
I wrote an article about it, and it's on the Driven 3 years ago.
So it must be true.
There'll be plenty of second-hand petrol cars to buy. Who's going to buy one from a showroom?
Yeah. Lamborghini.
The thing is, the demand for cars will reduce quite substantially by that point, assuming self-driving is a reality, because the utilization of a self-driving car will be closer to 80% versus 2 or 3% at the moment, which means you won't need nowhere near as many cars being produced every year.
I don't think that self-driving will be legislated. We might get it perfected quite well, but I don't think it'll be adopted widely across the globe, especially Australia, for a while after that. I think we have a lot of changes to the road network.
I agree.
Well, and ironically, the most dangerous period is actually the transition, when you've got both kinds of cars on the road, because if you only had autonomous vehicles, the only X factor are things like pedestrians, and they are fairly well controlled at pedestrian crossings and intersections and things like that. But the real problem is the transition between autonomous and ordinary people who can make mistakes that the autonomous cars have to deal with. That's like a bit of an X factor.
What I put my hope on is the fact that it would have there would just be an immense amount of public pressure on the politician that would prevent, through legislation, for mature full self-driving technology becoming a reality, because every week that goes past, the numbers will add up, and at some point people are going to say, look, you could have saved this many lives if you made full self-driving legal, and every week that goes past, there'll be a certain amount of lives that would have been lost as a result of full self-drive, holding back the legislation. So,
how long does it take to get smoking and asbestos banned?
Very.
Well, the biggest problem is
there's a big difference, though. Sorry, Harold.
Oh, yeah, go, Pete.
The big difference is if you die in a car accident, that's very sudden. It's right there. It's very unexpected. If you die from asbestos-related lung disease, it's 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the track. It's like smoking. It's like people. That's why the road toll is much more visible. Makes the news much more often than people. There's more people that die prematurely from particulate matter and other emissions in the air than people die from the road toll. but you never see it on the news. Whereas every day on the news, or every week at least, you hear of someone dying in a car accident. So that's what I think is the big difference.
The biggest problem is humans are accustomed to the road toll. Well, in fact, the road toll per capita has been declining dramatically, mainly through safety features and now active safety features, such as, collision avoidance and warnings. But people are accustomed, we're accustomed to having, I don't know, 2,000 Australians killed on the roads. If we all went to autonomous cars and one person gets killed at the fault of an autonomous car, suddenly this is a machine tragedy. I mean, every death is obviously a tragedy, but the ratio, you'd probably have to have a 10-to-1 ratio, because they may say, well, we accept, or we just know that every year you kill 2,000 Australians driving themselves. But if there were any more than 10 or 20 people killed by autonomous vehicles, well, that would be unacceptable.
Yeah, it's like people dying from a shark attack. Absolutely. You're right. Yeah, absolutely. But that's why Elon has always said that it's got to be 8 to 10 times safer than a human driver, for that exact reason what you've just mentioned, I think.
And it's human nature. We somehow think that, well, people are fallible, so you just expect that accidents happen. But on a machine, suddenly a machine has to be perfect all the time.
And you've only got to look at the reports of people dying in accidents where a Tesla's involved, which is something like 0.01% in America, yet they make 95% of the news reports.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's false reports.
Well, not that there's just false reports. I mean, I think you'd really struggle to find one accurate report about the accident in Texas.
Yeah. And that's so conclusively, the police on site at that time said, we are 100% certain there was no one in this driver's seat.
That actually wasn't a police person. I think that was actually a bureaucrat. The chap is a elected member. He's actually slightly different. He's not actually a policeman as such, I think.
He could have been the sheriff, and sheriffs are elected.
Yeah, he was something like that. And he also had a background of sponsorship from fuel industry.
Right. Well, the issue is you get the facts in, what's wrong with just saying we don't know what happened?
That doesn't make news. It's not click-worthy.
Yeah.
I mean, even NHTSA has come out now in America with an interim report saying that the driver got in the driver's seat and the passenger got in the passenger seat and had the seatbelts on. And when they went to check them, he got into the back seat and the seatbelts were all unplugged. And so they're saying that he did actually get in. They've got video evidence of him in the driver's seat.
That's right, because there was a camera at the house or one of the houses or whatever. Yeah.
But that's not been reported.
No. Well, what's the saying? You got the sensational thing on page 1, and then the retraction is on page 35.
In fine print.
In fine print.
6 months later.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly right. But I mean, you get that. But clearly, that's the biggest problem. Is it's because you'll get philosophers or whatever you call ethics committees that will have to and look, Tesla will have to do this in their cars. Do that classic. You've got 2 pedestrians on the road, and you're going to have to hit one of them because you can't miss both of them. Which one do you choose? And how do you do that? Do you try and identify the elderly one because they have less numbers of useful years ahead? Or what do you,
that's a minefield, that is.
Well, and the thing is, humans may or may not do that calculation, or may not even have the reflexes to be able to make that decision. But, and that's the problem, is the ethics committees can always think of a new scenario that's even more diabolical. You know, it's like those train ones, you know, there's a train going and it's going to, if you do nothing, it's going to kill 1,000 people. But if you put it onto a different track, it might only kill 2 people. Well, what should you do? Well, you should actively kill those 2 people to save 1,000. But is that, you know, it's not good if you're the 2 that get killed. So, but obviously you'll need to program this in software, because somehow if you can discern the situation, you need to decide it.
The thing is, if you kill the 2 people, that's murder.
Precisely.
If you actively kill the 2 people.
Whereas if you did nothing
and killed 1,000, then.
Well, in fact, I think in common law, and those who are in the medical profession would probably know this. I think in common law, if you're a bystander, there is no obligation for a bystander to help someone in medical need. But if you do, then there could be a problem.
No, no, there isn't. Having been a doctor for over 40 years, I can answer.
And I did know that, Nigel. I didn't want to drop you in.
If you provide aid in good faith, you are exempt from all legal liability. However, if you then turn around and send them a bill for the aid that you provided, you are then legally liable for anything and everything.
That's a good point.
But you've got the Good Samaritan Act, I think it's called. So provide assistance as a Good Samaritan. You're all right.
But if you send them a bill, then you're acting as a doctor without a license.
Yes. Yeah. Well, no, even as a doctor, you send them a bill later. So I mean, I've assisted at roadside accidents and collapsed people being intubated and poor old Ambos having different. But I never sent the person a bill.
Quite wisely so.
Yes. No, the Good Samaritan Act protects you.
Cool. Cool.
As a doctor, there's also the reverse of that. That if you drive past without offering to render aid, you can be liable.
Is that under the Hippocratic Oath, or is that because you're competent and there's an implied obligation to?
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, I always used to stop and try and help and go, oh well, that's it. I'll leave now. I mean, it's like, when you have an accident, you've got to stop and render aid. Otherwise, you are then liable.
So, Nigel, let me get this straight. If Angus Taylor's on fire, I have to stop and piss on him.
Only if you piss gasoline, darling.
I've just gone back. On that last, the guy who reported on the Tesla fire was a constable. He was Mark Herman, appointed constable of the precinct in 2015, and was duly elected constable of the precinct in 2016 after winning the general election. So he's actually an elected member.
And isn't that crazy that? I was going to say there's no criticism to those our friends in the US, but it kind of is actually, that you have elected law enforcement because you're popular, because you've declared that you're going to crack down on some part of society or do something that's popular. So if your job isn't, if what you've done isn't popular, you won't get elected next term. It's crazy.
Harold, you know what you were saying there about, which choice do you make? Having, cut my teeth in rail in London, there are train controllers that are trained that if there is a serious flood from the railway lines that run under the Thames in London, there are essentially blast doors that will come down and cut the rail, and essentially you'll drown 3 trains worth of people, but you'll save like 3 or 4 or 5 more.
Yep.
So it is a thing that they're trained to do. No one wants to have to make that, but yeah, you could say there you've deliberately killed those people.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's to save others.
Isn't it the same with with rockets? There are people that will do the in-flight destruct, and for all the manned programs, that the people that are involved in making that decision have zero contact with any of the astronauts because they don't want that interaction, because their decision is to save potentially hundreds or thousands of people, and to blow up that rocket if it goes off course without regard to the lives on board.
I didn't realise that human space
They
flight
did in the Apollo. They did in the Apollo. They'd have to. There'd be someone that's got the red, effectively the red button that's got to press it. I mean, it's not direct; it's computers and all that sort of stuff. But the flight termination thing, they would do, and they would keep that team of people away from the whole manned program because they don't want that emotional attachment.
Because they want them to see the people as numbers rather than as people.
Yes, because it's the 3 that are on board that are worth less than the potentially 1,000 or 10,000, where if something the size of a Saturn V rocket goes over Florida.
Yeah.
But
wow.
But the thing is, in aeroplanes, their systems make decisions all the time in how to fly this thing, what to do. The weakest link are basically the pilots these days. You've got the cases
unless it's a what was it, the 800 max? What's the
737?
Yeah, the max that was pitching the nose down because it thought it was stalling.
Oh yes,
because the speed sensors were icing up.
Because of the sensor, there was a sensor error, and it then pushed the nose down. That's right. But and there are a couple of rare examples where pilots have overcome the automation because it's played up. But then, unfortunately, sadly, there are quite a few where the pilot has just basically binned the plane into the side of a hill or whatever. But and I mean, I guess the same thing applies in cars. If the cars were fully autonomous and all they had to do was you enter in a destination and they would drive you from A to B, then at least you have no cases of, and people have done this so many times, driven cars into people or off the road deliberately, because of road rage or whatever.
It's actually not an uncommon form of male suicide.
Oh, it's
wow.
It's single car rural crash into a tree, and they obviously know that it is probably that, because it's one tree in like a whole line of road that's straight, and there are no other trees, and that car just bins it straight in.
Nice.
Oh yes, it's super duper common, sadly.
Didn't know
that. But anyway, But yeah, autonomous cars, well, they won't. That'll be one less thing to worry about.
And where are you going to get the fuel for your petrol bombs?
Sorry? What?
Where are you going to get the fuel for your Molotov cocktails?
That's true.
Oh, there'll still be heritage. You can still buy wood. You can still chop your own.
It's very hard to make your own petrol, though.
Still the front with petrol.
We don't need petrol. You could just use our ethanol. But then why would you waste it? That would be a waste of a good drink. Dear.
Can I just give you some results, which I'm sure you'll be interested in. The reason I was away for 5 minutes there was to test out my theory. Now, you might all be familiar with these little sort of remote control things to get your camera, to click your camera, and I use this all the time. on my experiments and so on, because I'm only often the only one. I'm controlling it and photographing it and so on. So I'd use this as a turn the camera on. So it's a little infrared controller. I've got half a dozen and a radio frequency one too, because the radio frequency one, although it's much longer range, is prone to electrical interference. I do generate a little bit of. The interesting thing about this is that, and I'm going to turn my other light off in a moment, but it's basically like a lot of controllers, they're infrared. And they're sort of near infrared, so it will actually be picked up by a camera. So what you're looking at is a camera, and if I'm getting it correct, so I'm making, you see a little flash?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hang on, just try to aim at the right spot. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so that's actually sending a little digital signal just to to fire the camera. So that's near infrared. I can't see anything at all in black, you know, light, dark adjusted eyes. I can't see anything. Now I want you to have a look at this. This is the camera from in front of the door of my Model 3, flashing this light. Now I just got to work out how to do all this in one hand. It's a 9-second video, and I'll try not to.
So did you say this is from the Model 3 camera?
Yeah, just a few moments ago.
Right.
Now I've got to find the on for the video.
You got to press play.
Yeah, no, just trying to hard to reach there, isn't it? So if I just reach, hang on, I've got to get more rest my arm there. Otherwise, it'll be jumping around.
No, it's got on the camera.
Yeah, I'll just give me a second. It's in fact, it's worth seeing that.
Oh, I just saw something flash.
Yeah, that was it. Oh, so I just started again.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's that little thing. So that's the. So what that shows is the camera picks up, and pretty brightly on that. This is down my driveway, so there's no other lights. Just the rear headlight, the rear brake lights reflecting back from the road and onto the shed. Well, in fact, it's just on the road. It's just the brake or reverse or something. Because I had it in reverse, so I could see the rear. Yep. So I could get the rear vision on that. So you know, it's pretty significant because you can see that red light. So what it shows is that yes, the cameras actually do record near infrared, like a lot of cameras do.
Well,
I think some cameras have an infrared filter to try and remove that effect.
Yeah, things like surveillance cameras have a day-night switch, so they have an infrared cut filter that they slide across for daytime, and then for nighttime or very, very low light situations, that it's actually a mechanical filter, and it will slide across and out of the way. So then the CCD, the charge coupled device, will go into infrared mode and basically absorb any light that they can get, any photons.
I've got one of those filters which has got a very dramatic 7th power, I think, cut off at a very sort of tight, the infrared visible junction and so on. And that I haven't put that on there, but basically what I'm trying to get at is this does record more than we can see. And it's a bit more see in the dark thing, because you often can, the camera just seems to see more than you can see. It's much more sensitive. And part of that, I guess that's part of the reason why it stops before you get to see the cows or whatever's coming up before you can get to see it. So I'm not quite sure whether it's that or whether the infrared's playing part there as well. But anyway, it does respond to infrared quite near infrared, not the infrared that I showed you last time, which is long wave infrared. It's like heat. It's a thermal emission, sort of. It's that far into the about 1/10, about 10 times the wavelength. So it's actually a long way from this sort of infrared. Anyway, just interesting to know that it does respond to infrared. It's a shame it doesn't respond to a whole range of frequencies, but again, that you'll get that Elon hypothesis of too much information. Thank you.
Yeah. So the infrared will see a cow, but it won't see another electric vehicle. Might see a nice car producing heat.
Yeah.
Well, the cameras, most of the cameras on the old Model X's and S's are RCCC, which is they have a red pixel, and then they have 3 luminance pixels, which is basically grayscale. So it's just black and white. And the idea of that is to get a bigger dynamic range. So those 3 black and white pixels are tuned at different intensities.
Right.
So that because you don't want to have an automatic iris, where you can, but that's another level of complexity. So when they first downloaded these images, and I think it was Very Green that was doing it, it didn't work out because you get like an image, but there's only a quarter of the red pixels, and the red was to pick out red, green, and amber lights. So when you actually see footage, like dash cam footage taken from, well, say my car or other Model S's and X's, the older ones, it's a false color sort of thing. But it's pretty cool because they can actually, it does show green lights, even though it's only a red sensor. Because obviously, if the image is dark in red, but it's bright in black and white, then you infer that color must, well, it's obviously not red, so it's probably blue. So it sort of gives it a greenish blue hue. But if it's bright in red, in the red pixel, and bright in black and white, then it's probably red. So it gives some really weird sort of colors.
I had to think quite long and hard about that. Think about 1 pixel. How many pixels are there in the whole picture? It would take me a lot of thinking.
Well, yes. Well, and that's where Andre Karpathy did a really good thing. I forget the podcast. It's something Brains. I forget exactly what it's called, but he was describing how the neural network, how it actually performs, and how you've got this architecture of like layers of neural networks. And one of the first layers, all it does is it looks at a group of, say, 10 pixels, and it just tries to identify if there's a diagonal in that group of 10. And then the actual neural network next to it is 1 pixel along, and its job is to detect the same diagonal setup. Oh, see you, Nigel.
A bit like the astral retina, actually. The astral retina is sensitive to various things like that. Yeah.
No, that was Alex going.
Oh, sorry. Oh, see you, Alex. Sorry, I looked the wrong way. So take care, Alex.
All right, I'll see you guys next week.
Probably going to take my opportunity as well. See you all.
No worries. Cheers. See you, Richard. And anyway, you got all these layers of trying to detect edges, different colors, boundaries, and then it sort of goes from cascade to cascade to cascade of this sort of perception until at the very highest level, it's looking at, what a car is, what a cow is, what a lane marking is, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it is, Pete, it is pretty interesting. You're right. Those cameras can see more than our eyes. And the thing is, it's not just that we've only got 2. And if we want to look behind us, we can't look at the front and behind at the same time. Whereas obviously the car can do that and see around at different angles.
If we had Bollinger eyes, we'd be able to do that.
Yes. Yes.
A dad joke. Just
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Cool. Pete, what's the stock been doing? It's been a little bit.
Oh, you don't want to know.
Is it going down again? Is it?
Yeah.
Trader or a long-term holder?
Yeah. Ethereum has so Bitcoin's down about 20%, but today, but Ethereum's down about 30%.
Wow.
But yeah, Tesla's down another 2.5, well 3.5 actually. It's
So
down
buy.
What's Dogecoin doing at the moment?
Oh, Doge is down 30% as well.
Oh,
down to 34 cents US. Yeah.
So it's just a general sadness, really.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. Bitcoin is down. Oh, yes.
It's a pity Tesla didn't. It's a pity Tesla didn't actually sell, or so they say. So.
No. Elon Musk. He did tweet about a day ago that he hasn't sold any.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. So he's.
That was in reference to, the recent tweets, but yeah, they sold 10%.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Soon after they bought some. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
They made $100 million. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, no, yeah. Notwithstanding that, the small parcel, well, the 10% they sold, they haven't sold any since.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
When Elon had obviously the Chinese have spoken to Elon before we got the news, but the Chinese have gone off to say, Bitcoin's not for China, so don't think about it. Well, Elon had to stop using Bitcoin for cars. I'm sure the Chinese gave him the word that Bitcoin's not to be used in China. I think so.
Well, I don't think is Bitcoin legal in China. I thought.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Yeah, they banned it.
They're looking at their own coins. So yeah. But anyway,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, they want a digital yuan. That's right. Yeah, exactly. But then that's not the point. Because one of the points of Bitcoin was it defeats inflation in the sense that there's a limited supply of Bitcoin. So you can't do what many governments do or central banks, which is inflate themselves out of debt, or out of national debt. So Bitcoin, by definition, can only appreciate.
Like today? You mean like today?
Over the long term.
Yeah.
Yes, except until
that's assuming the demand's constant or rising. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or falling less than the inflation rate. Yeah.
And the thing is, there's actually a fair bit of wastage of Bitcoin because there are, I forget the numbers, but hundreds of millions of Bitcoin that have evaporated because people have lost their wallets. So they've lost the ownership of that account. And
it's a couple of million. It's 2-3 odd million out of the 21 million max supply. So there's about 18 or 19 million that's already been mined, and 2 or 3 of that's been lost forever.
Yeah. Yep. That are worth billions of dollars. There are people. Well, there was a guy that had that secure vault that he put his wallet in, and intentionally this physical. It's like a USB stick, but it's very well made. And I forget if it's $20 million worth of Bitcoin he's got on it. He's got 3 password tries, and he's used 2, and the first 2 didn't work. And he's gone for all money, because even the company that built this device said, well, we can't hack into it because we built it good. That's why it is good.
Yeah.
But I think Elon was, well, in one of his tweets he was saying that he doesn't want to use Bitcoin. I don't know whether he's a Johnny come lately to it, but Bitcoin's highly energy inefficient by design. He then said that he would be suspending Bitcoin transactions or purchases of cars with Bitcoin until or unless it somehow became more economic, more environmentally friendly, which is kind of impossible, pretty much.
Not really. So Michael Saylor, who's the CEO of MicroStrategy, they're famous for having the whole treasury in Bitcoin.
Oh yeah.
Not only that, he actually raised some money and for that purpose and put it into Bitcoin. So yeah, there's some.
So he's long on Bitcoin.
Oh yeah,
very much so.
Yeah, but yeah, there's some people are saying the SEC will be looking at that because he's effectively making MicroStrategy and Bitcoin ETF, which hasn't been approved yet. But yeah, I don't think he's bought enough to that extent yet. But yeah, anyway. But yeah, he made a very good point. So what Elon was mentioning is that they bought into Bitcoin in February and March, and soon after that, Elon was showing a chart which showed the energy consumption go hyperbolic. But what Michael Saylor tweeted in response to that was that yes, the value of Bitcoin had grown by X amount, but the energy usage had only gone up by a small fraction of that. Whereas Elon was trying to argue that the more popular Bitcoin gets, the more it uses, whereas Michael Seller was saying, well, no, actually, the more popular it gets, the more efficient it becomes. It's actually the other way around.
Because, but doesn't that, but the main cost of Bitcoin in mining it is to verify transactions. So
to solve a puzzle, basically.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And
Crypto puzzle.
Yeah, you're solving a hash puzzle to prove that, and lots of it's hard to do, and lots of machines have to be involved in that effort, and that proves the veracity of all the transactions of this ledger. But that sounds like the more valuable Bitcoin becomes, or the cost of the price of Bitcoin per Bitcoin, the value of it, the less that value represents energy consumption, or the less proportion of it is energy. Well, if you're doing a gigawatt hour of whatever per $1 billion of Bitcoin, or $1 trillion or quadrillion, then it's less relevant. But I would have thought the problem is if Bitcoin becomes popular, not valuable, but popular to use as a transactional item, then the more transactions you have, the more energy you consume. So
True.
if it's
unless you go to something like the Lightning Network, which is a layer 2 protocol, where a lot of that gets done off chain. So the energy use is quite there. Yeah.
So if you restrict Bitcoin to just a store of value, then that's okay. But if you use it as a mechanism of affecting transactions, then it's not okay. And I think that's what Elon was talking to Doge. He was saying he was talking to the developers to make it more efficient.
That was a bit puzzling because I don't know anything about Doge other than that. The whole irony of it is that it was created to be a joke. Yeah. But someone was saying Doge doesn't have developers. So,
well, it probably has one developer. It was probably the guy that did it just for a laugh, because he looked up the white paper on how you do a cryptocurrency and said, well, I can do that in my backyard, overnight.
Well, anyone can. You can jump online and within a couple of hours you can, someone will make a crypto for you.
Well, and it's funny you say that, because one of my kids, he's just starting a commerce degree, and I forget what platform he uses, but he bought some digital currency for $30 and he sold it at $1,400. It went from 30 to 1,400, but it's a little bit like a Ponzi scheme, because the trick is you just look up any digital currency that's just listed, buy $30 worth of it, wait a couple of weeks, and once everyone else is piled in, you get out.
Better still, you buy some of it in the ICO, the initial coin offering, and when it hits the exchanges on the first day, then you sell some.
Yep. It's crazy. It is crazy stuff. But yeah, it's interesting to see, I wonder if Elon's thinking about all these cars with pretty fast computers inside. If you had 2 million Teslas verifying the transactions on the network,
mining Bitcoin, basically,
all in house. So he could do his own cryptocurrency using some of the computing power of the cars.
There's two problems with that. So one is the big advantage that Doge and Bitcoin have, and any other popular crypto, is that they've already gone through the network effect, and that takes a lot of time and a lot of resources. The advantage that Bitcoin has over every other cryptocurrency is no one knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is. They don't even know if it's a he, she, or a group of people. Whereas, the problem with any other crypto that's got one person as the figurehead, it's sort of, anti-crypto, because that's a one point of failure sort of thing. So, and if it was all on Teslas, well, it's not really a properly decentralized network, because it's just on
one. Yes. Yeah, that's right. Because I guess then the fear is, well, what what if someone hacked into the Tesla's operating system and you could manipulate it to do?
That's fine. That's fine. You still wouldn't affect Bitcoin.
No, not Bitcoin, but I mean, no, if you had like a Elon coin or a Tesla coin.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
Look, it's an interesting problem because, and the thing is, central banks don't like it because they lose control of the supply of money.
They lose their monopoly.
Yeah, and how do you stimulate an economy with fiscal policy when you're not in control of it?
So
sorry, monetary policy. Sorry, not fiscal, monetary policy.
Yeah. You know, Austrian economics is all about you know, having sound money, and the concept of sound money is that you don't have any leaks. It's a enclosed system. So you've got a fixed supply of money, and that money doesn't change. Whereas you know, everything that we've done over the last 100 years has been the exact opposite of that. And most of the currencies most of the fiat currencies that have failed because of hyperinflation in the end.
Well, where's it? Modern monetary theory.
Oh God!
Says just print it forever. Just don't worry about it, because the world didn't end in 2000 and was it 8-9 with the GFC when they printed money galore, and you know they're talking about the.
Well, what we're printing now is even more than what we printed then.
Yeah, much more. It's crazy. All right. So on that note, so the share price is not happy, but it's a great buying opportunity, as Nigel says.
I did.
So I think on that note, we might sort of Nigel, Pete, and Pete. Oh my God, there's two Nigels and two Peters.
We've still got two Nigels.
I'm still awake.
And you're awake, Nigel. So am I.
Not doing our job. We didn't send him to sleep.
So with the two Nigels and two Petes, I guess we could always, you know, hop onto our share trading platforms and put in a cheap buy order, in the hope it might just dip down a bit less, and we can what's it called, Pete?
Pick the bottom?
No, you can't do that. Average down.
You might get a smelly finger if you do.
No, you can average down.
Average down. Dollar cost averaging.
Dollar cost averaging. That's it. That's it. But then, I mean, there is also that theory of you shouldn't catch a falling knife. But Tesla is not a falling knife. It is not. It's a rocket.
Or pick a bottom, because you might get a smelly finger. Got to pick a bottom.
Well, on that
note, I'm going.
Fantastic note. I'm going to give a quick shout out to Damon, Ash. Big shout out to Ashley, Joe, who came and went, and everyone else. Hosni Mubarak, he's a great watcher and commenter. So yeah, if you've got any questions, please put questions in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell.
And subscribe on Patreon. Thank you.
That's right. Big shout out to Elon that's watching, and friends, and for Peter Terran there that's trying to turn his TV on in front of the screen, in front of the camera. Yeah, look after yourselves. Have a wonderful week, and we will catch you next week. Take care, everyone.
See you guys.
Yeah.